What is going on, everybody? What's up, motherfuckers? How are you doing tonight? It's Xbox Ultimate Podcast, episode number 168. Yes, man. It's been a lot of salt the last day or so in more ways than one. We got rumor salt and we got tier salt. We got both kinds of salt. Depends on what you prefer, but we're going to talk about both. We're going to talk about the rumor salt. We're going to talk about the tier salt today.
Are we turning this into a Sony show tonight?
It's gonna. I mean, here's the thing. I want to flip that shit, right? I want to flip it. The tier salt.
Flip it.
Yeah, we're gonna flip it.
Rub it down.
Yeah, we're gonna flip that.
Oh
shit.
no!
We'll flip the script. And remember everybody talking shit about Xbox games for so long and all these things, right? Like, you know, you got factions now canceled that Sony can't even figure out how to do a damn games as a service, right? So. It's time to celebrate all of Xboxes. Xbox gives the gas, guys. You know, not every game needs to be like that, right? But they got some successful ones, and we're going to kind of talk about something that's been a little bit underappreciated from the Microsoft and Xbox side for a while. Because guess what? I guess this shit ain't easy, huh? I guess it ain't as easy as they thought it was. But you know what? It's strange. I guess you have to hire and grow studios, and you know,
or just fucking at least put one out and try.
Yeah, that too. You know, can do that. But you know, also we got the whole. You know, we had a show last night, Pong, talking about the whole. Is Gen 10 coming early? Are we getting Xboxes and stuff coming sooner than we think? And there's the other salt. You know, there's a big truck of salt there for rumor mill stuff, but. At the end of the day, like, it's still more people keep coming out, you know, with this saying that they've been kind of hearing something, or that they, you know, that they believe it could be 2026 could be the year where Xbox goes ahead and steps into the next gen. So it's only 3 years away, guys. That would mean we're halfway through the cycle. Should be pretty damn crazy.
I think we'll find out next year when the Slim or whatever comes out for the Series X, because the rumors are they got rid of that too. So. If we don't see that, then we know it's true.
Right.
True.
Well, how are you doing, Jasper? You doing good?
I'm tired. Been traveling all day. Been home about 2.5 hours. Played the finals for a bit, and that's what I've been doing today. So.
Right on. Having fun with the finals still?
Yeah.
Yeah. I played with you and Kate, and you know, I think I was doing okay, but then we had the one game where the guy was arming the thing at the end, or you know, cashing in or stealing it or whatever, and I didn't see him. He's right in front of my face, and then the game ended. We could have won, but we didn't. It's my fault. Oh well. How you doing, Fuzz?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Just been looking at, you know, X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, and seen a lot of deflecting and denial and crying and salt and just a mixture of everything. And it's Team Blue that just I don't know what's going on over there. But this is an Xbox show, so we'll talk really about Xbox stuff. But glad to be here with you guys. Can't wait to get into this stuff.
Yeah, right on, man. I appreciate you being here as well, Fuzz. Psycho is going to be joining, I think, a little bit later in the show. He's closing tonight, so we'll see him soon. But Pong Soul, what's up, dude? We had a almost 4-hour show last night.
We did.
And
we did, man.
It was our first PM in the PM in a while. And man, it was crazy. A fun show last night, dude. But we got more to talk about. How you doing?
We do. It is Friday. Yeah. I don't know if it's just me, but there is a slight energy shift happening right now. We had this kind of happen around acquisition season time. You remember that, Mav?
Yeah.
Where there was kind of a feeling in the air that was going around. Some people, you know, before the whole ABK was announced or anything like that, told everybody to shut up and stop talking about acquisition possibilities, but we kept doing that, right? But we had talked about it at that time that there was this energy shift. There was this weird energy kind of movement going on. There's another one of those going on, and maybe some of you are too practical to believe in the whole energy and woo woo stuff and all that kind of thing. I'm not. I believe in all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's because I'm so invested in all this stuff, and I'm in this community for so long, and I'm read so much.
You can kind of see the pulse.
You can see it. Yeah, you can see it, because again, that's one thing that X does give you, whatever your interests are, and why you're on X. When you get a huge, it's in the overall grand scheme of things, it's certainly no majority of the world population, but you get so many people on here from all over the place. It is kind of a hive mind that can be read from time to time. It can kind of give you a look into what's going on. And what I noticed here this week is, there's been plenty of the circus that did what we knew they would do, which would say, oh, good, I never wanted a multiplayer game from Naughty Dog anyway, so just go back to making your single player games. So this is great. This is fantastic. Nothing's wrong. This was the best move they could have ever done. We knew that was going to happen, but there is some cracks showing in the armor right now. And again, I don't want to turn this into a Sony show because it is an Xbox show, but it is interesting to watch, because obviously Xbox's cracks in their armor have been shown for a long time, and people have, continued to twist blades in there, even when we've said those cracks are no longer there. People have tried to say that they are, but we're starting to see some real big cracks in the armor of Sony. And yes, they're still selling amazingly well, their consoles, but that's the majority of what I'm seeing right now is people, oh, we're still number one. Look at those console sales. What do you guys got to say about that? You guys are still third place over there at Xbox. What are you guys talking about? There's nothing going on over here. We're still number one. We're still number one. And I've also seen parts of the clown show actually break rank. You can actually start questioning what the hell's going on over there for once. And what the fuck are they doing? And why aren't we getting the things that we were being promised? And why are we getting so many remasters and remakes? And why is things taking so long to come out? Where's the roadmap? Well, we're seeing more and more people break ranks now. That's a slight shift. Again, they come out with a hopes and dreams kind of scenario come January or February. It'll probably all go away again because they'll all be happy. But right now, it is a little bit different out there. And the Xbox side, we just had some big ass announcements, right? We got Blade announced. Right, we've got all this energy around, as you were talking about, Matt, potentially them launching next gen early and coming out the gates swinging. We got a lot of positivity going on. We had Starfield this year, we had Motorsport this year, and I think there's something else in the background. And I think that we're going to get some big news come early 2024. I just have this energy feeling right now. Let's call it what it is. Woo woo, guessing, flat out, just whatever, speculating. But I feel it, and it's been kind of fun, man. It's been kind of fun, and we had good conversations last night about some of it. We're going to do some more tonight. Can't wait to hear Jasper and Fuzzy and hopefully Psycho too, and get their thoughts on this stuff. But man, it's a fun time right now. And so yeah, that's it. Otherwise, I've been grazing, like I said last night, Mav, back to grazing again a lot. I did forget to bring up a game to you last night, by the way, Mav.
Mm-hmm.
Totally forgot that I touched it. And Psycho should download this too. And both Fuzzy and Jasper, obviously, if you guys want to try a turn-based game, an indie turn-based game, a smaller game, I should say. But you guys should all check it out. There's a demo right now on Xbox for it. So you can download it and try it out. And it's King Arthur's Knight's Tale. Go check this game out. This game
is a demo?
Yeah, it's just a demo. It's just the demo's out right now, so you can try it out first. I think you can purchase it. It's on Steam too. It's been on Steam for a while. So, but it is on Xbox. Go check this freaking game out. Turn-based strategy game based around, of course, King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table. Dark, fully voice acted, which is crazy for a smaller game. Really well done so far from what I've played.
Oh, this
some really cool stuff in it.
Expecting.
Yeah, King Arthur's Knight's Tale. Go check that out. Demo. That's one I forgot to bring up last night, Mav, part of my grazing. But yeah, go check that out. Otherwise, I'm ready to get down to business, Mav. I'm ready to talk some of this stuff because there is a lot of good things happening right now that we can talk about.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate you being here, chat as well. Thanks for all the support on all the shows and everything. If you do like the content on the channel, hit the like button, share it out, sub to the channel, notification bell, all that kind of cool stuff. Appreciate you. Adidas 20 hit us with a very generous $10 super chat. Says, ponies don't understand. Microsoft did not get rich making hardware. The software giant flexing its software power on Xbox. Also, Sega trademark Altered Beast and Eternal Champions. Yeah, we talked about some of those last night too. And
Sega's coming back,
Altered
baby.
Beast,
Let's go.
Or, Eternal Champions. Let's go with that too. A lot of awesomeness going on there. So, but yeah, I kind of wanted to get into this first. I saw some. I can't even remember the person who posted this, but it's like they mentioned 3 for 3 specifically. After Factions was canceled, saying like, maybe they deserve a little bit more credit than people have been giving them for. And it's stuff we've kind of talked about in the past with the immense expectations that people have of a game like Halo, right? It's just absolutely insane the expectations have. I mean, they have to deliver on a great campaign. They have to deliver on a fully fleshed out multiplayer mode. They have to have co-op in it. They got to have all the bells and whistles, and they have to please every one of those kinds of gamers that look forward to a game like that, right? Then, co-op was delayed, right? Forge was delayed. Oh, Forge mode also, like all that stuff. Forge was delayed. Man, they got so much shit, right? They did. They got so much shit. And then for the first couple seasons, slow out the gates, and we were hard on them on that too, right? Because like, how are you going to launch a live service game and not have your like content planned out, right? And then it was like, in hindsight, maybe they should have had delayed it a little bit more while they got their content pipeline. But since then, since season 3, I mean, they've just been on a regular, amazing pipeline of content. The game keeps getting better and better and better. Great changes, great stuff. The playlist for modes is like huge now. New maps frequently, and they're just on this great cadence. And you know why? It's because they didn't fucking give up. They didn't back down. They had some changes. Like Microsoft was like, hey, we can't kind of have this stuff, right? They had some layoffs. They had some changes. Bonnie Ross is out, right? The expectations are so high. You can't have this kind of stuff go on, right? Still, even with Halo. But look at it where it's at. And then they didn't give up. They didn't buckle down. They didn't back out. They were like, hey, no, we're just still going to make a great fucking game. And they just kept at it no matter how much scrutiny they had, no matter how much people were trying to shit on them, saying the game's dead and all this kind of stuff. But it's fucking thriving now. It is. Like, it is super popular. It has a great thriving community. People get excited for the updates. Seeing more and more different people playing it all the time. And it's in a great fucking place. And it's because they didn't quit. They understood the task at hand in the long run, right? You look at other examples. Grounded, started by a small team. Hey, start small, get big, right? Started in a little games preview game, Grounded. Started into this little passion project. Turns into a live service monster now. Sea of Thieves. Hey, rocky start, right? Rocky start. Didn't have quite as much content as people hoped for when the game launched. Look at it now. Completely fucking different kind of game. Launching new content still frequently years later and still getting more and more popular. Then you add in what they get with Diablo now, with Call of Duty Warzone, right? All of these games. Hey, Forza Horizon, you can count that in there. Even fucking Age of Empires. Age of Empires. I just saw a thing where this latest expansion was the highest selling expansion ever for Age of Empires. You know why? Because it's also on console. Amazing stuff coming from, Xbox, who people say they got no good games, You know what? They got games fucking people play. They got games people actually fucking play. And they keep playing. And they keep playing. And they come back and they play again. For years. People keep playing these games. Sony can't even get one fucking game like that out. Can't even get one. You waste years of dev time on Factions because you had grand aspirations, but you didn't have a clue what the hell to do. And they gave up. They gave up on a mode. You remember that this mode was originally promised as a part of Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us Part 2 was supposed to include this mode. Oh, then it's delayed. Delayed, much like the co-op mode from 343.
Wasn't it on the back of the box?
I believe it was, man. It was in their marketing. I remember them talking about factions coming back with Last of Us Part 2. Remember how much shit we gave 343 for co-op and Forge and all that stuff not being ready at launch? Did they drop co-op and did they drop Forge? Yes, they did. They didn't do split screen. However, they dropped the fucking co-op and they dropped Forge, right? Last of Us, Naughty Dog had promised, Sony had promised that the game was going to have multiplayer, is going to have factions. They're bringing it back. Then, fast forward. Oh, hey, this game's gone beyond scale of what we thought we could ever do. So now it's going to launch separately as its own free-to-play live service experience. Like, okay, cool. Here's a piece of concept art. A year after the game came out, here's a piece of concept art. Okay. A year later now. Canceled. Where is the same level of grief for a fucking mode that didn't even come out ever? They fucking gave up. They canceled. They didn't give gamers what they promised. Where is the same level of grief for Halo that Halo got for not having co-op or Forge at launch, right? The grief for that was 10 times stronger than what happens today with factions. Now you can say expectations and all that stuff, but that's the level of pressure that they have on them. And that is exactly my point here. If you look at the contrast, there is so much more pressure on these Xbox developers to deliver so much fucking more. And now everybody's just happy that they gave up. Everybody's happy that Naughty Dog gave up. Oh, good. They're not capable. Let them fucking move on. They're not big enough. Sony's not willing to invest.
I think that's partially due to the way the Xbox and PlayStation community is. Like, Xbox community is open. PlayStation community, who the fuck you talk to? Like, you can't talk to Jim Ryan. He's not gonna see your shit. Like, so.
Naughty Dog themselves turned off comments on the announcement.
Yeah.
I mean, how cowardly can you fucking get? Again, how cowardly can you get? Not even like, as much as we talk to the Xbox side of things, and as much as when we've had criticism, they're out here in the public sphere, they're in here in the community, and people tag them constantly and talk to them. And Naughty Dog, for the first time, is facing legitimate criticism outside of The Last of Us Remaster, which they did get some for that as well because it was such a shitty port. But they opened themselves up to legitimate criticism for breaking a promise to the community, for going against everything that they said that they were doing. And the first thing they do is make the post confirming the cancellation and shut off the comments so nobody can say shit to them. Cowardly. You guys are all cowards. You shouldn't even be online if that's how you're going to take things. You guys need to hear the music, okay? That's how you learn and you fucking grow, and you need to take that in and understand what you've done to some of your fan base out here who were really looking forward to it. And on top of that, yeah, you're going to get some nasty shit. Of course you are. It's the internet. You're also going to get some people that come and defend you too. That's how it also works. But to turn off the comments, just straight up cowards. Again, Neil Drunkman and the rest of that crew, I've lost all respect for that dev team. There's been a bunch of stuff that's been buried through the years where they had similar issues to other studios with crunch and with not such a good atmosphere. They lost talent, a lot of talent during some of the development of The Last of Us 2. That all was brushed underneath the rug because they were beloved, because they're one of the golden children out here in the dev community. And Neil Drunkman is beloved. And, he can't do anything wrong, and we're just going to cover for him. And I'm talking about the media, and I'm talking about the big personalities. So a lot of that was covered up. But man, I've lost so much respect for that studio. Again, you want to play in the big boy waters. You want to be considered one of the best of all time, which people were crowning you, right? And sure, rightfully so in a lot of different ways. Then you got to take the heat too. That's part of being king, is taking the heat as well. But it falls in line with Sony's overall philosophy as well. They don't like to take the heat either. Sorry, I just
where's their executives like sitting in front of like a panel of interviewers and having to stand up there and being like, yeah, we fucked up on this one. Yeah, this happened. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, how many times have we seen Phil do that now? Like when shit went bad, or when Halo, or when Halo had those,
you can't. Journalists can't ask those questions on live streams. they can only praise it. They'd be like, "Oh, The Last of Us 2 remake part 2's coming out. That's so great. I can't wait to give it a 10."
Right.
Or just remember how PlayStation didn't really take they didn't even apologize until the Japanese government made them apologize for the hack years ago. So it's in their nature. I mean, I respect Fantastic more than I do Naughty Dog at this point.
And they're not even real.
It would have been better to have Neil Druckmann come out and go, shit happens, guys.
Yeah. I mean, he might as well at this point. I mean, he teased the fans with concept art and talking about, oh, we're working on stuff. We got stuff coming. Yeah, it's canceled. Like,
you had fucking Troy Baker come out and give a 10-minute podcast at fucking whatever Summer Games Fest for it. It's like,
yeah.
It's just a bad look at this point. And the PlayStation crowd that's calling them out, good on you guys. The ones that are defending them and the media in general, the gaming media, like, I remember how many stories were written about Scalebound.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I mean,
that's a
let's call it
third-party
what
game,
it was.
too. Yeah, I mean, it was published by Microsoft, but like, yeah, it was made by Platinum.
And a lot of people knew who the problem was. It wasn't on Xbox's side. Like, this is a first-party studio that's, you know, supposedly the cream of the crop over there, and they crapped the bed. Like, okay. Moving on, like they said they had to choose between single player and multiplayer. They can't even do that because they've been doing remasters these past couple of years. So what are we even talking about? Like,
it's crazy.
I would call it unacceptable
that we're getting The Last of Us Part 2 remaster before Factions ever came out, and then you find out that it was canceled. Like now, and we're still getting the remaster for the game that didn't even include the mode that this was.
Yeah, but you get to play free play Guitar Hero, free play guitar mode. You know, that's cool.
God, it's like what is going fuck on, man?
And this wasn't let's make this clear too. This wasn't a project that had just gotten started.
No,
right? This is something that they put somewhere. We don't know for sure how long. There's a couple different comments you can go find that kind of give us a rough idea. Somewhere around five years, potentially. Maybe even a little bit longer.
At least it's the fucking PS4 version.
Correct. Correct. So that this is a project that they put a lot of heart and soul into. This was playable. Now, we had devs come out today talking about on X about, you know, thanking each other for being on the team and all the hard work. And in all that was a couple comments like, hey, had a great time playing this game with you. We really had something special here. Their own comments within their release that talked about the cancellation. They talked about that they really thought they had something great here. We saw the home screen or the home screenshot now, or the title screenshot, the home screenshot, I should say, not the title screen, but the home screenshot now has been leaked. This game was very far along. They invested a ton of resources into this game. They had something here. Again, why is there not articles being written like they were, which you guys just said, about other studios who have done this in the past? Why is it that they get away with this? And I haven't seen one article go, mismanagement?
Mm-hmm.
Is this Sony not having enough money? Because they gave the ammunition in the cancellation post that they put out. They said that they would struggle to be able to make a single player game along with continuing to support a games as a service. How, again, as I said last night, did you just wake up after 5 or 6 years and go, holy shit, games as a service? This is going to take our entire team and we're not going to be able to do our single player experience. You legitimately didn't plan this out. You didn't think about that logistically before you started making this game. Bullshit. So who really put the stop on this? Was it really Bungie? Or was it Naughty Dog telling Sony that they needed to hire basically double their size so that they could continue to work on single player games along with the games as a service style, Last of Us Online, Factions 2, whatever you want to call it. And Sony looked at them finally and said, we can't do that.
Was it? I don't even know if it was that, or like, was it just the fact that Sony knows that, like, if they just put out a multiplayer thing, there's probably gonna be backlash because there'll be no story. They may not be able to monetize it because they don't know how to. So it's like every way they look at it, it's gonna be a negative for them. Well, people are gonna bitch because it's a game as a service.
5-6 years, and second of all, then at that point, then Sony, if that is the case, then Sony higher ups. Again, I saw people trying to say today that this was not a Sony decision. We could tell by how it was talked about. This was Naughty Dog's decision, that they kind of function autonomously from Sony, from PlayStation. I'm like, what? No, what? Wait, if the Bungie story is even half true, then that already defeats that. But the point being is, then you got to point fingers at yourself in the mirror, and then it is mismanagement because your community never asked you for this games as a service. They asked you to take Factions 1, make it a little bit bigger, make it a little bit better, and just bring it out as a classic multiplayer style game.
But more.
Right. That, but more.
That's my point here, Pong, too. It's like, I think this is getting way overlooked. And the fact, because people are accepting what the new reality was, as this being a standalone free to play game, but people accepted that because they were going for a grander scope, and it was still going to be free, right? So it was like, okay, well, it's going to be even better. It's going to be free. We're not going to really have to pay for it. But originally, people are not really thinking about that this was supposed and was promised to be included in the game in the first place, to be included as a part of Last of Us Part 2. It was delayed past launch. They said it was coming later. And then things changed. They scoped up. They scaled up. Did this. They did all of this stuff. Why can't they? Why? I don't understand. Here's what they should have done when they realized that the holy shit moment where we're not going to be able to keep this thing going for like a long, successful live service game. Tone it down to be just a playable, good Factions multiplayer.
I don't even understand that argument because, like, once you put the fucking game out, you don't have to have the whole dev team make the fucking thing. It's already made. Just make skins every couple months. That's like 5 people's jobs.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, it's like, here's the thing: if they wanted to have a hugely successful live service game, that's a different animal. That's more than like 5 people, right? Like, you got like all of Bungie making Destiny stuff for so long, right? But like, if you have,
that's because they don't know how to make a fucking game.
But if you have just released, like you all said, like was promised from the beginning, just another version of Factions, right? That's why they are erasing the word Factions off of their thing, the Last of Us Online experience, because they're trying to separate it from the Factions mode that was promised to be with Last of Us Part 2. So now they're calling the Last of Us Online multiplayer experience, right? The Last of Us Online multiplayer thing. This was supposed to be Factions that was included with the Last of Us Part 2. And they did not deliver on that. That was a promised mode that was supposed to come with the game that they have now since abandoned, right? And they've gotten away with it now because they changed it into something else. And now that was canceled. Right.
And why was that decision made, Matt?
Exactly.
Because I saw people trying to say Sony had nothing to do with this, that Naughty Dog was doing all this. But why was it originally planned as an actual Factions 2? Just taking Factions 1 and giving their players more of it. It just got a little bit delayed, but they were going to bring it out. And then the next thing we know, they're talking about, oh, this is growing beyond scope. That all happened around basically the same time that we now know internally Jim was telling his studios and Hermen Hulst were telling their studios, guess what, guys? We need some games as a service. We need some multiplayers that are going to give us some income, right? Some new income streams coming in. And all of a sudden, Naughty Dog seems to be one of the first parties that said, well, we're already working on Factions 2. We'll just turn that into something much bigger. But people out here trying to wave that away and say, no, that's not how it went down. Well, bullshit, it didn't.
I think you're right on, Pong. I think they had it where they could have put Factions 2 out, but then they got called as like, well, we got to make it games as a service. So there's like, well, we'll just fucking delay it and make it its own fucking thing. And then it went into development hell. Right. So I think you're spot on with what happened.
It's crazy to me, though, we don't have Schreier. Schreier did articles on Naughty Dog. He was one of the ones that actually did air some dirty laundry on Naughty Dog. It's hard to find those articles now for some reason, but they're out there somewhere. But where's Schreier's reporting on this? I mean, he just posted an update today on his May 26th, post about it, saying that it's been canceled. Why aren't we seeing these same articles? Why isn't there more? Again, the list. I saw a post up, put a list of some of the stuff that's happened internally at Sony over the course of the past year. That's an incredible list. Again, we all called out, criticized, talked about Xbox's problems. As a community, we did that. There was people out here saying we shouldn't be because that's wrong. And you guys, you're not real Xbox fans, blah, blah, blah. But we still did it. But why that list is a legitimate list. They have now canceled between 4 and 6 of those 10 to 12 planned games as a service already before even launching them. That is a freaking problem, man. That is a huge problem on top of the Bonnie stuff, right? On top of all the people leaving, on top of everything they've had going on with the Bungie situation. But the articles aren't out here. They posted articles today about this. IGN posted an article, Naughty Dog cancellation, but no questions in there. No deep dives. No asking the big questions about really, what does all this mean right now? And again, for pure gamers, you guys all say, who the fuck cares? Whatever. I just want games. That's cool. Again, but when we talk about these bigger issues and we talk about the business side of things, and because we love that, there's nobody out here in the professional area that's really deep diving this stuff. So I want to see that first because there is something going on here. There's more to it. This isn't all just coincidence that there was this big major shift within Sony. And we all talked about it when it started happening. We said, hey, you got to do what you got to do. We understand you guys are behind. Times are changing, future's coming, whether you like it or not. Can't live off the past, can't live off your single player, as Jim talked about openly. You can't do that, so you got to go do something. You got to get a little desperate here. We talked about that many times on all the different shows. But something major happened internally, whether it was an internal war that happened and people lost out. Something happened. This stuff doesn't just happen to the number one selling console on the market.
It almost seems like fucking Ubisoft and Sony flipped leaders.
Kind of. I mean, we all understand the dangers and the risks of chasing the pot at the end of the rainbow. We've seen other companies do this. We talked about it specifically with Ubisoft, EA, all these companies that have done that in the past and how badly they've failed. But Sony's desperate, so we got it, right? They have to do something. But again, do they have the balls to actually do this? Or are we finding out that because they have painted themselves into this corner, because they have created this narrative surrounding their ecosystem and their console as the premium experience being one way of things and third party filling in all the other spaces, are we now seeing the chickens come home to roost on that? By doing that, you now are scared. And I mean that literally. You are scared to put yourself out there in a new position because it feels like to you, if we put out a games as a service and that games as a service isn't highly rated, or if that game as a service doesn't live up to our premium experience, or if that games as a service is shunned by our core audience, what does that mean to our company? What does that mean to our name? Do we start getting looked at a little bit differently if we start putting out these games? I think they are legitimately scared to go into this field. And I don't know what they're going to do to get out of it. They'll hope one of their second or third parties comes through. They just
wasted a bunch of years, right?
Right, they did. Obviously, they wasted Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog had another game out right now. They legitimately could
remake coming out next year.
Right, but they could have legitimately had one of their IPs because they said they're working on two. They could have legitimately had one of those had they had all those resources that they put into this thing for the past 5, 6, 7, whatever many years it's been. They could have legitimately had a game out, maybe coming maybe last year, this year, or maybe, early next year. Now they don't. It's a big problem. It's a big question. I'd like to see some people asking that actually have connections to get us some answers.
It's kind of like they want to go the full Apple route, but they're afraid to take the final step and just be like, fuck our consumers over. We got to have some decency. And it was just like, I don't know.
Well, that's why their subscription service still sucks so much, man. I mean, like, too, like it's more than just like they were afraid to give too much value for the dollar. I think like they really like want to maximize the profit on every development hour that's spent. It seems like, or every studio when they're making these games, it's got to be a 20 million seller. It's got to be a 90 something on Meta, right? It's got to be all these things, and they haven't really been delivering on a lot of that this past 10. I would say like 5 years or so. And they know that they got to do more than that, but it's also their identity. So it's like I kind of feel like they're afraid, and it makes you like, the whole point of this for me is like showing like for the flaws and some of the things that Microsoft has had with some of these games, right? Like to sit there and still work on them, update them. Like how we were playing like games last week or the week before, there was like 3 or 4 games that got like major updates, like all in the same fucking day. You know what I mean? Like, and they keep doing this and keep doing it and keep doing it, and they will for years to come on these games. And that's the expectation that we have. It's a whole nother level of expectation that Xbox fans have of Xbox than PlayStation fans have of PlayStation. Like PlayStation fans like expect, okay, give me 2 like AAA 90 bangers a year and I'm good, right? And then like that's all we need, right? That's fine. Xbox fans expect, okay, you got to have multiplayer, you got to have co-op, you got to have single player, you got to have updates, you got to have free upgrades, you got to have games day one and Game Pass, you got to have, I mean, like it's on another fucking level, right? And I think it's honestly something Sony's just really incapable of. Like what sounds simpler to manage all of that shit?
Make a $200 shitty screen controller thing.
Seriously, to have all these studios that are constantly updating all these fucking games, right? To still make new games, to have a subscription service that actually gives you value, right? And all these different things with frequent updates and all this stuff. What sounds simpler? Rolling the dice and, single player 15 to 20 hour games and really trying to just maximize the focus on those kind of things and really only be able to get out a couple a year, sometimes like only one, like this year, right? Or do all the fucking things that Microsoft is doing in the gaming space. You know what I mean? Like the game like Halo Infinite, for me, and everything that's involved, seems way more fucking of an investment than something like Last of Us, right? Now you can look at the achievement of that experience, the isolated experience, and appreciate it for what it is. Then it's done.
It wasn't a banger. There was problems.
But then it's done, right? The Halo continues, Sea of Thieves continues. Like all these games that Microsoft are making continue. Now, not like Hellblade 2, maybe that will be like that kind of experience, right? But even Starfield, right? Even Starfield, which is a single player game, is still more of a game that continues with updates and all these kind of things that we're going to be getting over time. It is a different animal, a different beast that Microsoft has. And I don't really think they get the credit they deserve for the amount of work that goes into maintaining and updating these games over the long haul, as opposed to just releasing one-off experiences that, were cool for a short time and then move on,
You named a lot of good ones. You named a lot of, real quick, Fuzz. You named a lot of good ones. Sorry, Fuzz. I know I've been dominating. I'll let you talk, brother. I got a lot of thought. But I'll name another one that proves this beyond a doubt, because I will challenge anybody out there on this. State of Decay 2. Name me one other big publisher, Sony, Nintendo, EA, Ubisoft, that would have had a studio like Undead Labs underneath them. Have a game like that come out in the way that it did when it launched. Name me one other big publisher who would have had that studio continue to work on that game. The only thing I can think of is
Fortnite.
For 35 updates. Right. They changed Fortnite from what it originally was.
It was a piece of shit.
Right. But they changed it. They found Battle Royale. The rest is history. But I'm saying an unproven studio like Undead Labs, we saw how quick Sony pulled the plug on Days Gone, right? We saw how quick they pulled the plug on that entire studio and said, no, you're not making a sequel. In fact, you're going to be a support studio now. They supposedly are working on a new IP. They finally convinced Sony to let them do that, but they won't let them go back to Days Gone. But State of Decay 2 has been supported since when did it come out? 2018? 2016? Like what is it? 35 updates. They are now working on their next big State of Decay 3, AAA, taking a huge leap, growing that studio, and they're still putting out updates to State of Decay 2. And it's not like State of Decay 2 is some big giant money maker, but it's an engagement hog for the people who do jump into that game. There is no other publisher other than Xbox who would do that for a studio like Undead Labs and for a game like State of Decay 2. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt to me, on top of all the other great games that Mav listed off that we've seen come to success with not so great starts or smaller starts, that Xbox understands this better than anybody else right now. They understand games as a service, and they just added a bunch of studios who happen to make some of the biggest games as a service games in history. They are primed for this position in the industry, whereas Sony has zero clue, and they are scared to do any little bit of it to even, again, they will only dip. They won't jump in. They won't jump in at all. That says it all right now. Microsoft and Xbox have been doing this for a long time. Sorry, Fuzz. Dominating again.
The one thing I was going to say, do you think with God of War being that, given that free update, was that kind of like the cover to like, oh, shiny red ball to kind of take away from some of the fallout that they knew that they would get for officially announcing the cancellation of Factions 2?
It's just another inch of pushing up that boulder up that hill. That's all it's doing.
I think it's a sign that Sony's starting to understand they can't still keep doing what they've been doing, right? Mm-hmm. With the way that they're been charging for the updates, because like they got away with it from the games that were more of a jump from PS4 to PS5 and stuff, or maybe even PS3 era and stuff. But like these games that just came out a couple years ago, like I think they understand, like, if we keep doing this, we're gonna get so much shit. So I think that's a little bit of that, but I don't think they did it because of the Last of Us thing. I think if that was the case, they would have had the Last of Us announcement thing, and then the next day they would have had the God of War announcement to silence it. You know what I mean? Because like then everybody would be like, oh yeah, look, we are getting free content, we are getting cool content and stuff for free from play. So I think that would have made more sense PR wise or marketing wise in that regard. Usually you release bad news on a Friday, or I mean on a Monday, right? Or good news on a Monday, bad news on a Friday, right? So or is it the opposite?
It's usually bad news on Friday.
Bad
At
news
least
Friday,
Xbox
good news on Monday. Yeah. Because of the weekend, you have
I think it's
just
just
and stuff. Right.
I think Sony understands that they need engagement, and they're just trying to get it wherever they can right now. And
so make everything a roguelike.
Well, it's whatever's the easiest way to turn that whatever game they have around without doing a fucking Last of Us Factions 6-year development cycle.
Speaking of, Epic announced they're doing like a free game a day thing for a while for holidays.
They do that.
If you get a Epic account, you can get Destiny 2 Legacy Collection for free today on Epic Games, on the Epic Games Store. So go to Epic Games Store, you get Destiny 2, you get like three of the expansions, I think, for free, right? Maybe they're hoping for some more engagement in that regard. I don't know. If they really wanted it, they'd do that on Steam, I guess. But I'm sure they got some money from Epic on that. But it's interesting just to see the disparity there between the platforms. Like, you know, it kind of goes with the identities of what these consoles have always been. Like, I think since Xbox's inception, since Xbox Live launched, like Xbox has been the multiplayer machine, right?
I've noticed that the PlayStation ads recently, like usually you always see like the ads for like God of War stuff, but lately the ads have all been about the subscription service, PlayStation Plus and extra and all that bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
that's all the PlayStation ads I've been seeing recently.
Yeah, maybe they are trying to figure out
they
how
don't
to.
have any games out, but like,
Yeah, I mean, they still give good free games for like PS Plus Essential, like for their like, you know, like the Xbox Live Gold freebies used to be. Like PlayStation Plus still does a decent job at that. Like Lego 2K, Drive, what's it called, Lego Drive or whatever.
yeah, 2K whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's still an expensive game and it's fairly new, and they gave that as one of their free ones, and so they're still doing some things that pretty good with it, but like the rest of the service, like extra, it's like fucking horrible, man. Like somebody dropped a thing today on Twitter that had the Xbox had 50 day one games on Game Pass this year.
That's 4 per month.
Yeah, it's over 4 per month, bro.
Just day one games. That's
day
not
one.
all games.
Yeah, that's
Day
just
one.
day one. That's
Is that even all of them?
It may not
Day
be. It may have
ones,
missed.
Day ones, I think it is. I think it is. Day one games, it is.
50,
that sounds about right. Yeah.
50 fucking day one games. It's 4 a month, bro. That obviously includes their first party, right? But then you add that on top of all the updates and shit we get. Like, people keep playing these fucking games. Like, that's the biggest difference. That's the biggest difference. Like 2 years from now, see how many people are still playing Spider-Man 2. Right?
Sure. Nobody.
And that's fine. That's fine for those games. You know, I mean, you have, yeah, exactly. Like, it's like Starfield. I think more people will be playing Starfield, however, but like at the end of the day, like, though those kind of games, right, single player games, like, yeah, that's what they're made for. But like, if that's your entire like first party lineup, you know, then maybe you're too dependent on third party, right? Which was been what we talked about for a long time. And you know, we talked about like Xbox's ideas about investing in their own brands and their own IPs last generation and stuff. And they've done that with their games that are these games as service games, and they've built out these huge player bases, all while Xbox was struggling. All while Xbox is struggling, or the narrative is like Xbox has no games, Xbox has all this. They're quietly building up massive player bases for these huge games as a service that they keep hitting on and being successful with, that people still play to this day. Like, it's crazy, man. And I think they learned from Minecraft, you know, when they bought Minecraft, they were like, wow. And then they, you know, started doing other stuff. I remember when they started, you know, we're going to have pay for servers, and or realms is what they called it. And they kept doing the add-on content and, you know, characters and all these different things and expansions and stuff. And it's like, they saw that his engagement kept growing and growing, and like people still kept playing these games. And I think they learned that even if something like maybe struggles at the gate, well, Sea of Thieves maybe taught them this, that if something struggles at the gate, you can still be a massive success. And there's other publishers that have had this too, like Bethesda, before they were owned with Xbox, had the same situation with Fallout 76, right? They consider that game a massive success now, right? But at the time, you know, it was like, oh, you know, the launched rough.
It's not even just them. Like, they could look at like No Man's Sky, for example. Like, that game was fucking shit on when it came out, and then
Battlefield 2042 is another one from EA. It's still having success. It's like, it's just crazy when you
Ubisoft titles.
I mean, that's like every EA
a
game.
lot of But you look at you look at PlayStation side, the only game that they have right now that I maybe could consider that like that is GT7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Besides,
but it doesn't have monetized
Destiny,
updates other than the microtransactions.
Destiny's a weird thing because it just has its up and down cycles. But
yeah, it's, you know, at GT7 released that one good update recently that had some new modes and it had a new track and stuff, but that took them a long time.
Yeah,
to get that right.
Polyphony is slow.
Right. And we were already on. I think Forza's next update with the second new track is already supposed to hit soon.
Has there been a new first-party VR game from them since the thing fucking launched?
No, other than
The
the
Horizon, Call of the Mountain.
yeah, that was
right?
the
Yeah,
only
but that
one.
was at launch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had the GT7
So-
VR mode too. That was at launch, I think. But like, I don't know. Have they? Chat? Do y'all know?
Like, are they even
I'm not sure.
supporting like anything?
Not first party, no. I mean, there's tons of other third party deals that they have, but a lot of that stuff is also on Quest. So, they it it gave people that bought the VR1 some hope that they were going to have more first party look into this, but it looks like they realized that people weren't completely gaga over the climbing the mountain thing. So they were like, they probably said to everybody else, "Hey, just put this on the shelf for now. We don't need a Spider-Man VR mode," which it would have actually made more sense to have, a Spider-Man VR mode. They had a
Oh my god,
Batman
that'd be like
one.
a fucking vomit rush.
No, but to me, PlayStation has some easy gas like things that they could do that's right in front of their face, and it seems like they're going in the opposite direction. Like the whole Horizon thing, they're going with this mobile game kind of, battle royale, different art style type of thing that looks like Fortnite, which I get it. Fortnite is the bar as far as success, as far as, microtransactions and seasons and all of that extra money that you can make from that stuff. But they should have just done a Monster Hunter clone. Like that would have been the easiest one, where you get the co-op engagement, you can get the actual engagement, well, not engagement, but like the extra funding for seasons and things like that, for outfits for Aloy and all the other characters that you could use, have different unlocks for some of the weaponry that you use, or some of the status effects that are seasonal based or something like that. Like they could have followed kind of like what Diablo does for some of their seasonal stuff into like a Monster Hunter type of clone, using the realistic graphics of Horizon. That would have been the easy hit for them. I know from looking at Marvel or the Avengers thing, that didn't go so well, but I think Sony could probably pull it off. Like make easy content, well, not easy content, but have like a smaller experience story with other Spider-Verse characters. Or you have the Wolverine game coming out, although we really don't need to have Insomniac carry them any further than they have. But have Wolverine make a special appearance, like, hey, it's a $9 or $10 season add-on where Wolverine is visiting New York, or something along those lines. Like,
Yeah, it's
there's
just
so many
Kratos with
different
hair.
things. Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know. It just feels like they well, like you said, they're afraid to take any chances. They see that SOCOM had failed in the past. Resistance is not in the conversation as much, but they just had the Twisted Metal show, which did fairly well for them.
It's so weird.
Why-
Like they're afraid to take chances, but at the same time, like they take chances on stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like the fucking Portal. It's like, I don't know. It's like weird. Like the things they do take chances on.
Like Destruction All Star should have been a Twisted Metal from get go. Like just make it more of a Twisted Metal instead of whatever they came up with Destruction All Stars, getting out of the car and whatnot. And I think they would have had a better game that probably would still be easy to get a match for, kind of thing, if they had gone that route. If they hadn't closed down Evolution Studios, they could have actually made Drive Club into a serious Horizon competitor. I mean, they have the potential to do so many things that I wouldn't say were easy wins for them, but they could coax their fan base into this multiplayer realm that they're not accustomed to, and actually be able to grow that fan base in that regard, and not have to rely on third party as much. But
I
don't
think
know.
kind of what we're seeing here is like we're kind of going back to the roots of what these companies were. Like with Microsoft, we're seeing the software side of things, and that's where they've always had their success. And then when you look at Sony, they've always had their success making physical products. So it's like
Yeah.
they're kind of like just hitting their own strengths of old, and they can't
Yeah.
like
But like PlayStation's is like by far the probably most popular physical product now. Like this TVs have lost so much comparatively to like LG and Samsung dominate them, you know, in the TV market. Sony used to dominate it. Sony used to be like Sony was the best. Like there was no questions asked for TVs. Now that ever since like the new age of
Flat screens.
TVs, yeah, flat screens, that's gone. You know what I mean? It's like Samsung and LG just took over. I still like that's a Sony TV. I still think they make great TVs. I like their TVs and stuff, but they don't have the market share there anymore. You know what I mean? And part of the problem is because they're overpriced, right? Like like a Sony like equivalent to like a good LG OLED or like a Samsung high top tier TV. The Sony equivalent to that same line is always more expensive, right? Because they always like sell themselves as like premium and premium and premium, and that's kind of always been their like identity. And back in the day, it used to mean more because it was actually there was a big difference. But like when you're priced that way and there's not a big difference or gap between your competition, the premium aspect kind of goes out the window, and it's just your over fucking price. You know what I mean? And I feel like that may be like the ultimate downfall of the mentality in Sony in general, just from the whole company aspect, the way they see themselves. And that's kind of why I think they do the games and the consoles the way they do. I mean, it's the way they always talk about their products, regardless of what. Remember, there's even like leaked documents that had come out before where they called like other platforms inferior and stuff like that. And it's like interesting to see that mentality come through, but it's also, I think, a detriment to their ability to do more wide-ranging types of games, right? Do more wide-ranging appeal things. Like they have a wide-ranging appeal console, right? They've sold people on that premium and quality thing enough to mindfuck them always into thinking that that's true, right? But the when it comes down to the games, like, is it worth owning a piece of hardware for 2 high-quality experiences a year? Right? Or one.
That is if
and
your consumers don't know there's other experiences.
Right. And that's where it's at. Maybe it is, and a lot of people it is. You know what I mean? Like, and you got to have a console seller. That's what they always call them, console sellers. A game to sell that console, right? But like for me, I play so many fucking games. You know what I mean? Like one game is not necessarily going to do it for me. Sometimes it will, but like I want the place that gives me like updates and all these different things, like all constant shit to play and new updates and all these things. And for me, that's what Xbox gives with Game Pass, and that's what they give with a lot of their multiplayer games. And they keep adding other studios and publishers that have this same mentality, right? Of games that are driven by engagement, not games that are driven by a premium tag, you know? I don't know. It's interesting to look at, like what I was saying earlier is like, and what you kind of went to, like with the strengths, like Xbox has always been for me like more of a multiplayer console, right? PlayStation always been more single player focused. Even when they were doing more multiplayer, like in PS3 era, like the whole party, like the whole online system and structure they had for like just fucking sucked ass. It was so behind the times, right? You couldn't even party chat. You couldn't do any of that stuff, right? They finally added party chat in PS4 era. But like today, like, and I've played PlayStation ever since PS1. I fucking have hardly any friends on my PlayStation. I have hardly any friends on there because I don't really play it and play multiplayer stuff on there. I play all that shit on Xbox, right? PlayStation has always been that thing I go to play some single player games, right? And that's just kind of what I think. Maybe they're realizing, fuck, we're stuck in this mold, like, or maybe maybe they're doing what we're hoping and they pare it down and just try a couple things and realize they were going too big, you know. But when they made those decisions under Jim Ryan, I think they fucking wasted a lot of time and money, and it's putting a little bit of strain on some of these developers now, and maybe gonna see a little bit of a rough patch going ahead, you know. There's the other hope, that they do have some other stuff planned, that they do have some other stuff closer that they just haven't announced yet because they're waiting for the PS5 Pro announcement next year. That's the thought that's been going around. We talked about that before too. Like my silver lining has always like I talked about this maybe 3 other times on the show. My silver lining is like maybe that's why their showcases sucked so much ass this year. Maybe that's why
They do that for the PlayStation 4 Pro.
No, they didn't. They didn't hold stuff back for that. Like the whole PlayStation 4 Pro was more so for like the whole VR experience to improve on that versus the standard PS4.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking was like with the Pro, like if anything, they just like be like, oh, here's the game you already saw, but it's a little bit better. Like that's kind of all they did.
I'm not talking about holding back games. I'm talking about holding back announcements. Right? Like I don't think they purposely would have delayed games, right? Like I don't think they would have sabotaged 2023.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like I don't like let's say like I don't know when Spider-Man 1 came out or whatever, but like if a Spider-Man 4 came out on the Pro, like or on the regular, like they would just like show it's like look, it's a little bit better on the Pro, like even though it was already announced, like.
But that's not what they did last year. Like 2016 was their massive showcase.
Yeah, they did it kind of early on, but
the 2016
they need that dreams roadmap.
2016 was their hopes and dreams show, right? And we remember that, right? When did the Pro come out? In 2018? 2018, right?
No, it was before that because it was before the Series X or the Xbox One X. It was like 20, it was either 2016. The Xbox One X came out in 17, so the Pro came out in I think 16.
Yeah, 2016 they had a lot of new announcements, right? They had gameplay on a lot of the games and stuff. I don't know if they revealed the Pro there or if that was later. That would have been maybe the next year.
I think it was
they revealed the Pro on September 7th, 2016 is when it was revealed because they unveiled the Slim and the Pro at the same time.
Yeah.
So that was right after their big showcase that in that summer, right? Because the 2016 was that showcase. I remember because I went back and watched it again on one of our streams and looked at it.
So then that means that they would have then just showed you those games again, but on the Pro, like I was saying.
Right.
So they wouldn't be holding back announcements. Unless if they've changed.
Unless they do the announcements next year and then reveal the Pro next year. That would have fallen in line with what they did in 2016.
Yeah, but
like
it just feels weird. Like let's just look at Naughty Dog for right now. They fumbled the ball on Factions 2. So the best that we can hope for is that they're working on The Last of Us 3 and the remake or a remaster of 2. Because they've, to my understanding, they've given up on doing Uncharted. So I can't imagine there's a lot more games that like they should have already talked about, like a Ghost of Tsushima 2. Like if anything, like a year after they did that whole director's cut type of deal, we should already know that there's a Ghost of Tsushima 2 or something along those lines. I would hope. Well, I mean,
the only one I can think of that we know that's going to be a big game is Ben Studios, the people that made Days Gone. They're working on a big game that they haven't said what it is. Yeah. I can't think. I'm also Cory Barlog's sci-fi thing, but that's still so fucking far out that like they're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like a name.
Okay, so at the PlayStation. I'm trying to find all the games they had at the. They had God of War.
Mm-hmm.
They had Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
They had Days Gone.
Mm-hmm.
They had Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
They had Horizon Zero Dawn. They had Gran Turismo Sport. There was a VR thing. They announced the VR at this thing.
Yeah.
They had The Last Guardian was there. Let's see. They had Resident Evil 7 for VR there. I'm trying to look at everything. Because I know there's more. I'm pretty sure Death Stranding was here at that show.
Yeah.
Trying to find the full list.
I mean, if that's the case, they could do another Hopes and Dreams showcase, and they could use the Ben Studios game, and they could use Cory Barlog's sci-fi thing, even though it's going to be so fucking far out for that. Like, they just give you a name and for it.
I just remember that show was like, that was the one that everybody was like, holy shit, you know what I mean? And that was at
Wolverine
E3 2016.
could also be there.
So if they repeated history, right? Let's say if they repeated history next year, we know the Pro is supposed to be a thing. Okay, so let's say they have a summer show or whatever they do, and maybe what I'm hoping is that they had some things that they have been waiting to announce closer to the PS5 Pro announcement, right?
Yeah.
Because this year sucked ass for announcements. I thought this year was going to be their Hopes and Dreams show, but it turned out it was like fucking a nightmare. You know, it was like, it was bad. They had Concord, they had Fair Games, Marathon.
A bunch of GAAS games that their player base did not care for.
So that's just my silver lining and hope, right, for them. We'll see, because if they repeat the showcases like they did this year, if that takes place again in 2024 without a great lineup and roadmap of super impressive games for people to look forward to, that identity is fucked.
This is also like assuming that they haven't completely fucking stepped in the studios and like just made them say, "Oh, we're doing all GAAS stuff," and then like turn us, let's step back. We're not doing that anymore. Like if they haven't completely fucked every studio over at this point, like.
I mean, what do you
to the
think?
Drawing board.
What do you think? Like, I mean, we already know like 2024's. Now we don't know when the games are coming out, but we know like a roadmap for like Xbox first party, right? Like we know we got Avowed is supposed to be next year, Hellblade 2 is supposed to be next year, Flight Sim, Ara on PC, Towerborn, right? But like, when we know some of the like, if you want to call it second party, whatever stuff from Sony. Stellar Blade.
We just got Rise of the Ronin. Hellblade 2.
Wait, what?
Hellblade 2. What?
I did the thing you did in fucking DMs a couple weeks ago. Helldivers 2. MLB The Show, Concord.
So that's their lineup right now, which, you know, it's games, right? It's games, but let's just be honest. It's just be honest here. There's no Last of Us or Charted or, you know, Spiderman or like those kind of fucking.
Oh, like, Last of Us Remake hitters. Part 2.
Yeah, Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
Yeah.
So
well, no, I'm talking it like about a new one. You know, fuck the remasters. Yeah. Like fuck, you know.
Yeah, well, you can have pro version of all the other stuff too.
And I'm saying, I'm not using the like. I don't expect a game in those. Those games, what I'm saying is like a game of those caliber, like a heavy hitter, right? They don't have any heavy hitters announced for next year right now, at all.
Nope.
The closest one was Marathon, but then that's multi-plat and it's been delayed. So
I mean, I think Rise of the Ronin's the closest to maybe being a heavy hitter, but like after the last showing, I think it's kind of the excitement's toned down a little bit for that game.
It's the Hellblade 2 effect.
So could they have a heavy hitter for next year? Could they? Like, what would it be? Any thoughts? Like,
Ratchet and Clank.
Oh my
6
God.
hour special. 6.
I don't think they have a heavy hitter for next year. Like the best that they can hope for, I think, is that they get the marketing for Grand Theft Auto 6. Honestly, I think that's the best that they can hope for.
That's not next year anyway.
I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, that's right. 2020.
That's 25. Yeah. I'm gonna throw this out there.
Yeah, I mean they do have Final Fantasy 7 Part 2, but that's not first party. Like that's.
But you threw in Stellar Blade in there too.
But that's published by Sony though now.
Right. But yeah.
But like Final Fantasy's not published by them.
We're splitting. Yeah, I know.
What I'm. Like
it is a big one.
I think if we're counting that, I could count Stalker 2 for Xbox. The same.
Well, of course, absolutely, and I wouldn't have a problem with it because it's technically exclusive. But anyways, I'll throw this one out there. because Fuzzy just mentioned it, and I think it's possible. It's been dead quiet, but we know they're working on it. And if they started right away, and if it's going to be a lot of reusing the assets, Ghost of Tsushima 2 could be a surprise next year. They could drop that out of the blue. Death Stranding 2 potentially next year, although you would assume Kojima would have said something by now.
Unless they
showed
were
it off,
saving it.
unless they're saving it. Right, that's what I'm saying. That's yeah. I mean, I could definitely see between those two, one of those two could surprise next year for sure.
I mean, do you think I'm off base with that, Pong? That like they could have been holding back announcements for that? No, like I'm not saying 100%, but like
no,
you know, it's just.
I said that long ago. I'm on board with that thought process because again, I don't look at the PS4 generation as they're in a different spot now. They're in a different place now. So, and Jim Ryan took over. So this would be Jim Ryan's plan that's in place for how they were going to do this. So the whole marketing scheme of how they do things could be completely different this time around than what it was for the PS4 Pro. I said from the beginning, if you want to have the biggest impact with the Pro, you do exactly that. Why do you give your fans are still buying your console in droves? Okay, you're still outselling the competition by major margins across most of the globe. Why give up that power that you have with marketing for your brand new console that you're going to be dropping by just simply going, oh, we need to give our fans a roadmap? No, you don't. Most of your majority, your base on PlayStation is casuals who play Call of Duty, Madden, and the occasional first-party title like Spider-Man. They're not concerned about their enthusiasts. We already know this. They don't care what those people think. So they're going to do it their way. And if you are going to capitalize on a PS5 Pro dropping brand new hardware, taking back the power narrative, right? We assume they're going to take back the power narrative, even if it's by a small margin or a bigger margin, they're going to take that thing back. But if you're going to drop that new hardware and it's going to be expensive, and you know that your enthusiasts are going to be the majority who adopt, especially out the gate, the Pro, then you're going to have to sell them hopes and dreams on that Pro. And what better way than having the best versions of Wolverine showing off, Cory Barlog's new IP. Maybe one of Naughty Dog's is ready to show, one of them, because they got supposedly two. Maybe one of theirs is ready to show. Maybe it's the Last of Us 3 teaser for the Pro. And then, like Fuzzy said, we talked about this, if you get the marketing rights for Grand Theft Auto 6, well, hell, now you all of a sudden got the best version of Grand Theft Auto. That in itself sells your console. So I definitely think that it's possible. And again, that's why I brought up a long time ago that it makes sense in my brain, at least, that if I was sitting in that position, I would probably do the same thing. I would probably say, hold these announcements back. We'll give them hopes and dreams in 2024, along with a brand new, most powerful console on the market. We'll sell it like crazy, and we're going to sell it by showing off the best versions. It'll still be on the regular. Obviously, they're still going to be on the regular PS5, but we're going to be able to show and tease the best versions of all these great games we got coming that we've been holding close to the vest this entire time.
So they're going to make a haptic vest.
Haptic vest? Yeah, that would be awesome. Go along with their VR too.
Pinch your nipples.
Yeah. But yeah, no, absolutely, man. I'm 100% in agreement, man, for sure.
Introducing a new
feel them taking money out of your wallet.
Look, it's got the nipples like Val Kilmer's Batman.
Oh God, help us.
Was it Val Kilmer or George Clooney?
Yeah,
each nipple is a PlayStation portal.
Oh my God.
It has a screen on it. You can blow into it and stuff happens. Just sit there and blow your fucking chest while you're playing games. It's amazing.
Added haptics for Pornhub. Exclusive.
It has a new lick sensor. Oh my God. Sorry.
Definitely fit in on Twitch playthroughs. I mean, I think the contortion.
They just reversed that today.
They reversed it instantaneously. They realized the mistake they made real quick. They realized real quick what they had opened up. Oh, they had artistic twerk offs going on. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that ended that real quick. So, yeah.
Well, what are we talking about? Artistic twerk offs?
Twitch changed the rules the other day.
Yeah, they said you could have artistic nudity. They allowed they came out and said we're changing our policy due to that one popular Twitch streamer who basically streams topless. You can't see her nipples, but she sits there and bounces her boobs perfectly so her nipples don't show. And she was getting away with it. And then they got complaints. They banned her, and then they brought her back and said, "Oh, we're changing our policy. Artistic nudity is now welcome here." Well, it turned into a porn show in less than 24 hours. So, yeah.
So they reversed it already?
Yeah, they reversed it today.
Oh,
yeah, they said,
God.
We made a mistake. We made a mistake. We're going back.
Wow.
Yes.
So there's 24 hours in Twitch's history where they were basically a porn site.
Go because it was being posted everywhere, sir. I don't swim the Twitch realm very often. Let me tell you that much. So
Let's go check
but it
and
was
see
being
how many
posted.
new people Pong followed yesterday on Twitch.
Yeah. Right?
Oh, what's this?
All
account?
the hot
What's
tub
this?
section.
What's
The
this
whole
account?
entire hot tub section is already followed. So I just added to that.
Oh, I'm gonna do body paint. Oh, oops! This is a hot tub stream. I'm gonna sit in the hot tub with my body paint. I wonder what's gonna happen.
Right. E-ranks, that's disgusting. Where? It's all gone. You guys had like 24 hours to go enjoy. Now it's all gone again. So
I'm actually surprised Pornhub hasn't made its own like gaming porn site at this point.
Jesus.
Like, considering how many PS4s and 5s go to Pornhub, like you would think that would be a thing by now. But
yeah, we all know how much PlayStation gamers like getting fucked, right? So
yeah. They showed the stats again today. So they got a whole articles on how to get around the PS5 not having a browser and still being able to get to Pornhub.
Oh, did IGN write that article?
No, IGN did not. But there are articles out there about it. I saw that going around today because Pornhub released its breakdown of gamers and consoles, and PS5 and PS4 were leading the way by a large margin.
You don't have to like hack it to get to the browser?
Yeah,
pretty much.
they have articles. Yeah. They have articles on how to do it specifically for Pornhub.
Oh my god!
What? That's hilarious.
Yep.
I mean, I really wish they would add an actual browser to the PS5 instead of that workaround, because I was really trying to play Starfield just for shits and giggles on my PS5 through cloud streaming. Like, I can get it to load the page, but once you log in, something went wrong. So they have I looked at it. It's like they're using on the console an old Safari browser that's like 3 or 4 years old, so you don't have the same stuff you need for Game Pass streaming to work.
Weird. Yeah, it's funny too. Like on Xbox, you can literally do like GeForce Now and shit. Like if you want to, like they ain't blocking it. They're like, hey, cool. You know what I mean? Like it's just so strange, man. But we'll see. I mean, I think the this generation's really shown like Xbox's dedication to those updates and standing behind their games, right? And all of that kind of stuff. And, and you've had investment in small games that became big. You had slow starts on big games that had bounce backs, and you had all these different things. And, but like, I think honestly do think like the studios, like a Undead Labs, like the Obsidian team that works on Grounded, like 343, Rare, all these things deserve like a little bit more credit than they get when we see that how hard it is. Like Naughty Dog, who people say is one of the best studios out there, right? And I agree. I like Uncharted is one of my favorite franchises. Like, forgot how to make a multiplayer game, and they can't do it now. Like, it's gonna be too much work. Like, and I remember playing it PS3. Like, they did multiplayer modes on Uncharted. Last of Us. So, like, they all had that
because it has to be grand now, Mav. It has to be big. It can't be some small thing.
Yeah,
it's gotta be too big to fail now. Like,
just fucking make it and grow it from there, man. It's just like, like I look at Grounded as a perfect example. Like
if it's not a banger when it comes out, then we're a shit company.
Well,
man.
I don't think they got the stomach for bad reviews. I don't think they got the stomach for negative criticism. I don't think they got the stomach for the investment of turning something around or continuing to invest when it's not given the return, right?
Nope.
So, You know, maybe they're
I
just
don't know.
gonna
It's just
revert.
I think it's their fan base because like people still aren't playing the co-op of Returnal. People still aren't playing the
Returnal
raids
has co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
pointed
can't
that
find
out.
anybody on my friends list to do it. Like I'm on like the third or fourth board. Like nobody's playing Returnal co-op. Like the Ghost of Tsushima, like the raids and stuff. I did it for like the first couple of months where I could find people for the raid and for like the PvP and stuff. I mean, you can still find people to do it, but it's like I hate playing with randoms because nobody uses a headset. Like all of this technology, nobody on PlayStation seems to use a headset. Like, screw it. I don't know. It's a different ballpark over there altogether.
Yeah. Well, interesting. 2026.
Yep.
New Xbox.
Yep.
I thought they're supposed to go out of business in 2027. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they got to get rid of all that extra plastic.
It's gonna be a great 1 year run.
Yeah,
it's probably the
let's
best.
go
in
all
history.
in for
It's gonna
one
be
fucking
great.
year. Xbox is like, hey, you know what? We've been working, so we bought ABK, all this stuff's $70 billion. You know, we got Bethesda's ZeniMax, you know, another 7.5, you know, whatever it was. I don't remember. All these other studios, you know, they've been working on these games all these years. We've been updating all these games all these years, you know. We'll give you 1 more year. We're gonna get a brand new console.
They're gonna buy up all the technology so PlayStation can't make a new console.
Everything's gonna drop in 2027, and that's it. Like, and then at the end of 2027, shut the servers.
Dreamcast Part 2. That's where we're gonna be at.
No, they're gonna do a post on Xbox's Twitter account and be like, "Fantastic!" Like, sorry, we didn't make enough money. See ya. Shit happens.
Shit happens. I was just gonna say it, Fuzzy.
No.
Shit happens. We tried. Yeah, we tried something new. Shit happens.
So Grubb has added a little bit of fire to this with some speculation that he believes 2026 could be the time for the next Xbox. Originally, 2028 was in those leaked documents and what the kind of plans were, and you know, Phil all had been talking about longer generation, this generation, and stuff like that. And you know, the leaked documents showed like a potential discless Xbox coming out next year and stuff, and now we heard that maybe that's potentially canceled from the AMD data miner or whatever, thinking that may not be their plans now or whatever, and they may have next gen sooner than 2028. And a lot of people are on this 2026 train right now. We talked about it last night, Pong. But more's come out since then from other people kind of piggybacking on this. And I think, which is very different than when we first had these discussions early on, the community seems a little bit more open to this now about not running all the way to 2028.
Wonder why?
Why do you think that is?
Because of the performance of some of these games.
Yeah.
Because people are realizing limitations. Again, we've talked about it. Optimization is still on the devs, but we've seen way too much proof that these devs are not going to spend the time to optimize every game for every single piece of hardware. So you're going to wind up with less than performance in a lot of instances and a lot of problems. And some of these engines like Unreal Engine 5 is showing that it can push these consoles to their max and beyond. And the consoles now have big time limitations. So I think that the community itself, as more and more people are looking at it, are like, shit, either I got to go start thinking about high-end PC and really considering kind of moving in that direction, or we probably need a new console before 2028, as you talked about last night, Mav. When you think about the years, next year, you know, all of 2024, all of 2025, all of 2026, all of 2027,
and then all
probably
of 2028.
not almost all of 2028 before we get another console. 5 more years. Yes, most generations we've seen the devs get better with the dev tools and all that kind of stuff. By the end of the generation, we've talked about that too. I'm sure we're going to have some great experiences still on the Series X and Series S by 2028, no matter what, you know, happens in between. But at the same time, that 5 years, especially if a Pro does come out from Sony, it could get ugly, man. It could get ugly by 2028. 2027, 2028. So I think some people are just waking up to the reality that maybe we do need to have a shorter cycle this time around. Or
And
maybe in general, we need to go to a shorter cycle.
I think people are starting to really start to get the idea of what I started talking about early on. I was always down with mid-gen refresh or more incremental upgrades or consoles coming out sooner than later and all this kind of stuff. About the new era of gaming and what it really means. It's not like the old days, you know? And when a new console comes out, like Xbox did this generation, everything comes along for the ride, right? Everything that you've bought this gen, everything there comes along for the ride. And we already saw that, like they said last time, we're going to continue to support this generation for a few years or whatever. And they did that, and you know, you still get actually games come out that are announced Xbox One and stuff like that from a lot of third parties and stuff.
Yep.
And a lot of those games have great performance and are fucking amazing on Series X, right? But it's these other ones that are really pushing all the fucking boundaries that you see the limitations on, and it's like, okay, well, I put myself in a situation, and I put myself in the year 2027. That's 4 years from now. I'm going to the store. You know, let's say it's October 2027, getting ready for the big holiday games, right? Let's say there's a new let's say Fable's coming out then, or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully not. They hopefully sooner.
3-bit really did some damage. Holy shit.
Hopefully it was sooner than that. I'm just trying to think of a game. Elder Scrolls 6. Okay, I'll just use Elder Scrolls 6. Okay.
There you go. That's
all right. Let's say Elder Scrolls 6 coming out 2027. I want to, you know, my Xbox died or whatever. You know, I got to get it. I got to get something to play it on or whatever. I'm a console gamer. Go to the store. 2027. Would I rather in 2027 buy an Xbox that has more up-to-date power for that year, or something that had the power of something that was made in 2020?
Right.
Personally, I'd rather buy the new shit. And like, if I was a customer this year, next year, the year after that, every fucking year, I would rather have the new shit. I honestly, if it would only cost me $100 upgrade, I would trade in my fucking Xbox every single year for an upgrade on it. I'm just saying, personally, that's just me, right?
That's what I was just about to say, Mav. Let's say just take something current, right? You and I have seen personally the difference in Starfield between the Series X, which is still great, right, and our PCs, right? If there was an Xbox that could play it at our PC level right now, would you might have invested in a new Xbox at this point?
Oh yeah, 100%. I would buy if one came out today. I would buy it. Like, I would go trade in my Series X or sell it off, and I would go buy a new one. And because I know that Xbox is going to update their games to take advantage of the hardware, because they've proven that already. They've done that, right?
Right.
So why wouldn't, like, me personally, as an enthusiast into gaming that plays a fucking ton of games, like, want the best performance possible? Like, it just, especially when you're not leaving anything behind and you know it's going to be supported in the future, like, and if that's, you're like, okay, I already have Xbox, I don't want to upgrade, I don't want to do it, that's cool too. You can still play your Series X, still play your Series S or whatever you got, and it's still going to be supported for a few years until they eventually make the cutoff. And it's like, that's just the world we live in now, I think. And I personally even think, like, I would have been more okay, like, I wanted them to do a mid-gen refresh, like 2024, because we got a lot of awesome games coming, man. A lot of fucking awesome games coming. And just selfishly, I want the best performance and best graphics possible on every fucking thing I play, right? But, you know, it seems like that's not going to happen for Xbox, probably. It seems like the 2026 thing might be more likely, whereas when PlayStation's getting that. But for me, it's like, why not? You know, like, I don't have a problem. Like, I get a new fucking phone every 2 years, you know, and those things, like, cost way more than a console. And I would much rather enjoy the games on my console, you know, like, it's just a different mentality, a different way. Like, the forward compatibility. It's not just backwards, it's forwards.
A few things. If Microsoft does do this, then if they do start the next gen in 26, this is officially them saying we don't give a fuck about the PlayStation, like, console war anymore.
Correct.
Because if you look at their current roadmap that we had in the leaks, it's supposed to be Zen 6 and Navi 5, and that stuff isn't even supposed to come out till 26.
Right.
And you don't get the new technology in the new consoles the same year. You're going to be like a year or two behind. So either that shit's going to be like $2,000 or like it's just you're getting something that's not like true next gen. You're getting something that like would be compared to your PC now.
Right.
But like a 4090, like I was listening to C Money's show earlier, and they like a 4090, or maybe this was on Rand and Jez's, like a 4090 is like the same architecture as like a 1080, right? I mean, like at the end of the day, like is the difference between a 4090 and a 1080, like the same games run on them, right?
You're not. I mean, yes, but you don't get all the features.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. Like
even like Alan Wake 2, for example. It was the first game that like.
Can you run Alan Wake 2 on a 1000 series?
Because you don't have mesh shaders, so it's kind of weird.
But
like,
what I'm getting at is I'm not saying that, okay, yeah, you can play on old hardware. I'm saying is like you upgraded your PC to take advantage of the new shit, right? Like why should consoles be why can't consoles be the same, whereas like every few years you get a new console instead of a new graphics card? Like, and then eventually old games won't be able to run on a certain level of hardware. Like, that's the way it works with phones. Like, okay, so let's say every 3 or 4 years there's a new console that came out. Well, eventually there'll be a cutoff date where they're not going to like support games that were on a fucking 12-year-old piece of hardware, but they'll still support certain levels. Like, that's how PCs kind of work, right? Like x86 architecture, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you next year you buy a 5090, yeah, it's going to run better than your 4090, which ran better than the 3090, which ran better than the 2090 or 2080 or whatever in the 1080. Like, people are upgrading their PCs like every 2 years, a lot of people, and they're paying like $1,000 fucking dollars for a graphics card, right? So like if every 3 or 4 years I upgraded my Xbox, it costs way less to upgrade that than buying one of those fucking brand new graphics cards, but like I'm getting better performance. And then let's say every 8 years they have a cutoff where those old hardwares aren't supported anymore. Like, I'm personally that's kind of the world that I think we're going to be living in.
Yeah,
like,
but then at that point you just buy a badass PC and you wouldn't have to fucking worry about it for like fucking 6 years.
But like I always want to play on a console too. Like, I'm saying, yeah, PCs exist, but I think consoles have been becoming more like PCs. I mean, your whole library carries forward.
You don't go fucking buy a PC every 2 years, though. It's like, that's the thing.
We talked about this the other, like, I don't want to sit here all the fucking time and play games. I want to be in the media room or in the fucking living room or in my bedroom.
I get that, but if you do consoles like every 2 fucking years, the price is going to skyrocket. Like,
they won't do that. Not unless they go to the cell phone model.
Then you're not getting upgrades.
Unless they do a trade-in. Yeah, no, they'll never do that. I just think 5 years, cutting down to 5-6 years versus an 8-year gen.
I think 4 would be good.
4 would eventually be good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fudge.
But I think if they do that, as crazy as it sounds, even though they're the market leader at selling hardware, I think that would kill Sony faster. Like, I can't see them constantly having that R&D budget to do that. Like, they are typically the 6 to 8 year range where there's a mid-gen refresh, which, well, they only did the mid-gen refresh this past generation, but it wasn't that big of a leap in comparison. So if you go to that 4-year model where you are getting somewhat of a leap, I mean, at that point, then the new standard needs to be 32 gigs for memory in a console, which that would be amazing. And I can't imagine how expensive that would be.
I mean, next gen, I could see it. It's probably gonna be 32 for next gen.
Yeah, but like it's something that could work. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the idea of a $500 console would go away. Like, you would have to wait a year to get a $500 console. I think that would eventually, unless there's subsidies, which Microsoft could afford to do, I think you're talking about a $600+ console at a minimum.
We might already see that anyway, though.
I think the Pro is going to be that much from PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like honestly, like I'm saying, me personally, I would be okay every 2 years if it existed.
Yeah.
But like realistically, I understand. Like I'm looking more like at a potential like a 4-year thing that I personally think would be potentially the future of what we see. I'm not saying it's happening now. The 2026 obviously seems like the answer.
Even 4 years, like it doesn't really make financial sense for these companies because they're going to have to like keep getting this like new technology, and it's just going to be so fucking expensive for them to do that. It just doesn't make sense
unless they figure out a way to go modular, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think the big thing would be they would have to go ARM. They would have to ditch AMD.
One of the rumors, right?
Yeah.
And that was
they would have to
and that's going to be the whole another fucking
whole
nightmare bucket list of shits to fucking deal with.
So if a new Xbox came out next year that would play your games, all the ones that are stuck at 30 now, like next year, let's say a new Xbox came out and it was like $550 or $600, right? And it played your games better. It had better visuals and with fidelity because ray tracing updates, and it had better graphics, and it had all these different things. Would you trade in your Xbox to buy it?
I'd trade in one of them at least. Like I got 2 Series X's, so I would trade in the other Series X, hopefully get 300 for it, and put that towards the new one, and then probably keep the other one for downstairs type of thing. So, but if I only had the one, and then I have to, because you usually with EB or not EB, but like GameStop, you'd have to trade in the one before you could pre-order the other one or put the money towards it. So it's like I might wait until like that Black Friday to see if there's like $50 off or something like that if I only had the one. But I would eventually do the upgrade. But the PC I have right now is kind of like it gets me to where the visuals are where I want them. But then I know probably 2 years from now, I'm probably going to step up to a 5090 from my 3080 or a 5080 or whatever that would be at that point. But we'll see how it goes. But I think if one came out this year or next year or something like that, or basically next year, I would trade in one of the Series X's and pay the difference and enjoy those 60 frames.
Right. Would you, Jasper?
I mean, I fucking probably would, but like,
see, why would you though?
I mean, because I'm an Xbox fanboy. You know, you gotta get the good Xbox
because the games play better on it, right? But would the games be better?
I don't know. It's like just a fucking bad slope to go down.
Would you get one, Pong?
I'd have to consider it. I mean, again, with my budget, I have to look at it. I have to see what trade-ins we're going for and that kind of stuff. But if I could pull it off at this point,
but let's say out of pocket, it may cost you like $150.
I'd figure out a way to do it. Again, if they were giving me what I wanted out of it, if it was like Starfield at 60 and it looked like the PC, of course I would.
Yeah.
Again, I'd still play the majority of Starfield on the Series X at 30 frames, but if I had that option to get a console like that, of course I would. Absolutely, because like
you, Mav, I like all the other games that are coming out.
Going back to like the generation side of thing, where we're just talking about like generation starting 26 or whatever. Like at a certain point, like it's just going to end up being like the Switch, where like Xbox is always going to be underpowered from the PlayStation because the PlayStation will actually still keep doing generations.
They'll be overpowered for a time, and then they'll be underpowered for a time, right? We'll get into that if PlayStation doesn't change how they do it. But maybe I'm looking at this from the standpoint that right now everything's kind of up in the air for Xbox because Xbox has already shown time and time again that they're not interested in that console war anymore. Right?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to is if Xbox is even wanting to compete in that
Xbox
they're doing their own thing.
Which the ecosystem exists,
right?
And like the enthusiasts are the ones that are buying the Xboxes.
Correct, absolutely. So my point being is, honestly, if that is the reigning mentality internally, right, and they're not really looking at Sony at that way anymore, or that console market in that way anymore, then they're free to do whatever the hell they want to. And they could totally break ranks and start trailblazing in a whole new direction that we're not even thinking of, or like Fuzzy brought up and like some of the rumors were, possibly switching suddenly to ARM and potentially mixing in cloud and all. They could come out with a whole new device, and they don't have to hold to the standards that we've gotten used to.
And if they keep getting acquisitions, it doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter
who makes games for it, because you're going to make your own fucking games. So
thank you. That's what I said last night. They control their own destiny now, Jasper. Again, everything has changed from 2020 when they launched and when they were talking about this, and a lot of the early Phil interviews about how this generation was going to go. Again, it was all prior to COVID, really destroying their whole roadmap and all that kind of stuff. But they didn't know back then that they were going to acquire ABK. That would have been a dream. Had you walked up to Phil in 2020 and said, by the way, Phil, a couple years from now, 2-3 years from now, you're going to be in the midst of buying ABK, he would have been like, shut up. Like, that's not happening. So now the fact is they got 35 plus studios. They're growing out all these studios. They control their destiny. They're this close to having that moat that we talked about, that Booty talked about in the interviews. 1 or 2 more big acquisitions, right? Amongst some other ones. They legit can make any game that they possibly want. They will have so much first party content out there that they will make their own whole entire lineups. Like they will still have third parties. Obviously, they're still going to cut deals. But like Jasper was just saying, if they decide to go in a whole new direction, or they decide to break rank with everybody else and kind of do their own thing, they're going to be fine. They can build whatever they need, and they can go buy the rest or go make deals with people to do the rest. So yeah, I think that's why this is an interesting concept, or a fascinating concept at this point, is that if internally they've made that choice now with ABK, with where they're going, with what they see happening, they're going to fight the mobile war next. They're just like, screw it. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to go out here 2026. We're going to do something new. Maybe that's why they made the change right now this year and put Sarah Bond in charge of hardware and kind of aligned everything like they talked about. Remember, Mav? They wanted everything aligned so that everybody was on the same page throughout Microsoft, not just Xbox, but they put a bunch of the Windows stuff underneath there as well. Why did they do that? Because they said they wanted everything aligned for the future. Maybe that's because they've got bigger plans, or different, really kind of different plans than we originally thought.
The only negative I can see in that is you're going to have to get like EA and like Rockstar, like those big games. You're going to have to put out the money to get that shit to come over. There's going to be certain games that you have to put out, because if you do this, like where we decide to make a generation every 4 fucking years at Xbox or whatever, you're going to have.
I don't even think you could use the term generation anymore.
You're going to have third parties that don't day one drop their game on that system. It's going to come like a year or 2 later, because it's just going to be so conflustered. It's like, well, I guess we're making 6 different Xbox versions, so yeah, you get this one this year.
I mean, okay, so look at it like a tablets, right? There's like a new gen, like we're already in fucking gen 13 or some shit. I don't fucking know. But
that's because fucking iPods and iPhones and that shit hasn't changed in fucking 10 years.
Right. They keep getting more. If you get one today versus one that's 4 years old, it's way better. You know what I mean? But if you get one compared to one a year ago, then it's not that much better. You know what I mean? It's like incremental upgrades. And I don't ever want them to start doing it yearly. I would probably actually upgrade it every year, because I just play that many fucking games, right? But if every 4 years, I think you can have a good enough upgrade to justify having a new SKU, right? And every 6 years for sure. Every 8 years for me is a fucking lifetime. 8 years when people kept talking about that, this is gonna be like a 8-year, 10-year devs cycle, and we also don't need mid-gen refreshes. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to be playing on my fucking 2020 Xbox in 2028. I want the new shit. I want better performance. I want better games, because I'm thinking about what the technology is going to be in 2027, 2028, and how old that shit's going to feel then. That's just the reality of the situation. Man, the Xbox One, it launched a little underpowered, but man, by fucking 2020 when the Series X and S came out, if you had an original Xbox One, those things ran like.
But we also come back to the same fucking
on the
we
games,
also come back
bro.
to the same argument where if devs take time to fucking optimize and use the fucking tools, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we're past that point. Like, that's just not the world we live in. Like, are we going to expect all of a sudden all these thousands and thousands and thousands of developers and publishers just to all of a sudden start doing better? No, they're probably going to actually do fucking worse, to tell you the truth. And that's just the way it is, because these companies keep getting bigger and all that stuff. What is that? Oh, okay. Thanks, baby. Okay. Anyway, it was.
What's in the box?
But yeah, like I honestly think like the more they're do like a game on a Series X plays better than a Series S. A game on a Series S plays better than an Xbox One. A Series X plays way better than an Xbox One. And also, like, both of them outperform at 1X. Whenever they come out with new hardware, it's just better.
I keep seeing people in the chat say it's like it's closer to a PC, but like at the same time, like with Xbox and stuff, they lock it down with so many requirements that it's at the same time it's not like a PC. Whereas PC's open with it, like you can put a game out if it's fucking broken, it's broken. Whereas Xbox, you have to meet certain qualifications.
Yeah,
and that's where the tricky. Yeah,
than even Sony does. That's why we see some patches come later to Xbox because of their certification process. That's one of the things that they did change for Final Fantasy 14 to finally come over because of that system. So you're right, Jasper. They do have a lot of differences in there, but I'm just saying that.
I'll be right back.
I'm just go ahead. I'm just saying that I think that we may have to have another mind shift here. We've seen Xbox really trailblaze now in so many different areas and do surprising things that a lot of people didn't think that they ever would do at this point. So I think that maybe the game has entirely changed. Like I said, because of what now has happened, because of ABK especially coming into the fold, that maybe that really has done a big shift, because again, they are looking to mobile next year. Mobile is going to be the big push. They're going to, get that store up and running. They're going to go fight Google and they're going to go fight Apple and they're going to go do this war over there. And I just think overall the mentality might be completely different. And I understand. I see some people in the chat saying, all different scenarios that they want the devs to use the power of the consoles. We all agree with that. But like Mav just said, it's just not happening. The devs realistically aren't using all the power. And I see other people saying, obviously that they would become more like Nintendo at that point. And that's kind of my idea. Like they really at this point can go carve their own pond, and they can go live in a whole separate world from, Sony's kind of floundering right now using, the old model and trying to bring some of this, some of the new stuff in. They can go create their own pond right now because of how many studios they have and how many more they're going to acquire. Because again, they're not done. Again, I think we're going to get some announcements next year. And
I just find it interesting due to the leak that we had with the specs that they were kind of looking for. Like,
sure,
they would have to throw that roadmap out the window at this point. Like,
yes,
and start over.
Yep.
And they were supposed to already
start over though, because like normally when they make a piece, like when they made the Xbox One X, the same time they were making the Xbox One X, they were probably already doing the groundwork.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like this with the leak, we know that the decision for whatever the new hardware was going to be had to be made like a few months ago or whatever when the leak came out. So they if they're going to switch to something that's not Zen 6 and Navi 5 and maybe Zen 5 and Navi 4, they would have had to have changed that entire fucking roadmap.
Yeah. And I mean, they're obviously, if they're going to stick with AMD, that partnership is stronger than ever, right? They've got a great partnership. They could have been talking with AMD this whole entire time, and maybe they've got AMD locked down into place with something in the works already, right, Jasper? That maybe they don't wait for that, like you said, but they've got AMD, pushing things in a certain direction for them to do, the console version of whatever they got coming down the road in the future, because they've developed that relationship with AMD for a reason. I understand the trepidation. Again, gamers we don't like change. We've seen a lot of change recently, and it's hard to sometimes wrap our heads around or try to get a grasp of. And a lot of us older gamers especially, But even some of the younger generation, some of you guys, you just remember the old days and how things were done and how we saw things go, and devs really pushed themselves, and they, did all these these tricks and learned the hardware inside and out because they were forced to if they want to put their games on these systems. It's just like now, it's just like that just doesn't happen that way anymore. We have devs that put extra work in and get their games running better and better on certain consoles or certain setups. We've seen that time and time again, but there's other devs that just don't ever do that. And we get these games that just run like shit. And, I just think that, again, I just really think that Microsoft is in a position, Xbox is in the position now to kind of do really their own thing in all different directions. And maybe that's exactly what happened here. I'm fascinated by it. The fact that this has picked up steam, that the fact that we've got other people out here like Grubb saying that potentially he's heard some of this same stuff. We did have Phil come out, like Mav said, and say that leaked roadmap was not the roadmap currently, and that when they were ready, they would come talk about what they got going on, but that was old information. If that's all the case, then yeah, maybe they threw that out the window as soon as they started the ABK acquisition and started looking towards the future and said, we're going to do something different here. I don't know. It's going to be really cool. This generation is going to change things in a lot of different ways. I can't wait to see it. Mav, you back?
I got a controversial question.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Fuzz.
Do you guys think we see physical media for the next console?
Oh boy.
If it's 26, yes.
One more gen of some physical. Yeah. One more. I think they got it. If you're going to continue with backwards compatibility, Fuzz, unless you come up a way to transfer it's going to have to be something. It's going to have to still be available, because what are you going to tell the people that have physical media? Unless you come up with some way to give them credit and get them all digital versions of their entire library going forward, you're going to have something.
Maybe you do it country based, like maybe some like the poor countries where the Xbox is already so expensive. Like maybe you cut out the disc drive there, just to save a little money, bring down the price there, and then slowly over time you can roll that into like America, where it's like, oh yeah,
or like Fuzzy said, the external disc drive like Sony have something attachment wise.
Yeah, I think it'll be like that.
Yeah, that'd be easier.
I think it winds up being the external as well, because I'm surprised that like a mid-gen refresh of like a PS5 Pro isn't digital only. Like, I considering how well the S is doing and that being digital only, and they did that experiment with the Xbox One S, digital before. I think it's time to say bye-bye to physical media and just have it where, okay, you have your library of games for your 360 and your Xbox One, and even some for the Series console or for your Series X. Go ahead and get this, $40 to $70 accessory. Put the disc in, gives you the key, it's locked. You can go ahead and sell the game, but be warned, when that person goes to do it, they may pull your license or something along those lines, kind of thing. But I think if that occurs, then that's pretty much the end of GameStop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo will be there for them.
and the regulators better start again for all. If the regulators around the world are for the consumer, as they claim they are, then they better get their act together and they better put some protections in place. If we are at that point, they are so far behind in consumer protection on digital goods, because we just had an example today. Ubisoft announced that Crew Motorfest is shutting down, and there's no offline mode. They better start looking at and they better put in regulation that says if you're going to sell all digital media, that it requires an online connection to play or to work, that if somebody buys that you have a back door ready, that if you shut down, you have an offline mode for that game or that service or that product. Because again, that's bullshit, man. And that's the dystopian future that everybody who doesn't like all digital future talks about. And we've seen this in other areas too, Amazon pulling music or Spotify pulling music or not, I shouldn't use Spotify because it's rental. PlayStation pulling movies. Yeah, because because their license ran out. If you buy something, you should own that forever, even if it's digital. And that's where I start to, if we're going to go down that road, and I understand it's coming, don't get me wrong, it's going to happen. We need more protections for the consumers.
I would say that it wouldn't be like, they would never get a forever deal out of that. It'd be like, you have to support it for 10 years or some bullshit like that. Like,
because like you even like you own it, bro.
I mean, like, you can even think of it as a car. Like, a car's not going to last you forever. It's eventually going to break down, and you won't be able to fix it. Like,
but that's different than what we're talking about when we're buying something entertainment wise. If I take care of my Blu-rays and my DVDs, they last forever. I got VCR tapes from 40 years ago that still play.
Well, they have a lifetime. DVDs, like, they get holes in them and it will expire. Like,
right, eventually, correct. But if you take care of them, they don't. Like, they don't disintegrate.
It should just be a matter of, you have to do, before you pull the plug, you have to do an offline mode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There has to be something that would give you an offline mode where you can see.
This is stuff that I think they're all trying to think about with
not servers. I'm not saying you got to keep multiplayer going forever. You just have to have an offline mode that I can still play my game.
Yeah, look at Forza Horizon 2, for example. That one used to be an online game at launch, and then before they delisted it, they started cutting stuff back as far as like they didn't do seasons like they do now, but once it was delisted, it's like, okay, you can drive in the game. You'll have the AI controlled drivatars. It's not going to be pulling the data from the servers. No more car meets, no more online multiplayer, but you still have full access to the cars and map. And the only thing that you wouldn't have access to would be any DLC that you didn't already purchase if you didn't purchase before the delisting aspect. I don't know why the crew couldn't do that. Just offline AI cars, and then just let people play the game offline. I don't know.
I mean, it's something they're gonna have to figure out. I mean, like, I think that if anybody's probably looking into trying to figure out the right way to do things for the future in that model, would be Microsoft, right? Because they have been more of a digital focused. They do talk about game preservation and all that kind of stuff as well. They've done the back compatibility programs and all this stuff. And like, I've been talking about this for a long time. It's like, I've been using the word forward compatibility, right? Like, because in a digital era.
Well, I mean, you could look at PC for that. PC's been doing this for years. So like, you're able to host your own servers on pretty much any game you want if like you know how to do it. Like, they just have to give that option on console, which they probably wouldn't do because that's going to require back-end access that they probably don't want.
Yeah. Or, I mean, back in the day, we used to make like Halo Online when it wasn't online, yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. But, forward compatibility is like a thing that I think that, like, if you buy music, right, digitally, no matter what fucking phone you have or device, you know what I mean? You should be able to play that. Right? If you buy a movie digitally, right? You should be able to play it, and you should be able to have it with you forever, right? Who just fucked that up? PlayStation. Right? Who just showed that there's a flaw in that system? PlayStation. Right? Like, but you should be able to.
Schreier on that whole deal.
Oh my God.
I know some stuff on that, and it's like, yeah, the license expired, but it's because somebody didn't want to pay the same fee. They were offered an extension for the same rate for the same amount of time, and they're like, no, we're good.
Yeah. Like, if I buy a movie on like the Xbox store, I can play it wherever I fucking want to. You know what I mean? Like, I hook it up to the Movies Anywhere thing. I can play it on any device I own anywhere, and I have movies that I used to put in codes for where they put the digital copy in the physical box, put in those codes and stuff. Like, I got shit tons of those things, and my expectation should be that those will always exist, right? That should be the expectation from everybody when they buy something, some kind of digital entity like that, the rights to it, to play the music, to watch the movie, or to play the game, right? That will always and should always be accessible, because we will not have that option, that physical option, right? And it's responsibility for them to figure this shit out, and maybe it's regulators also partly responsibility to kind of put certain regulations in place
That's
and
what
all
we're
this
talking
kind
about.
of stuff. But like at the end of the day, who's doing it best right now and who has been doing it best is Xbox. PlayStation showed you can't be fucking trusted with that. Taking away movies and all this shit that people own, right? Like you got to figure that out. Forward compatibility is super important for these companies to think about with the digital age now that we're living in. 90% of the games people are buying are digital. The expectation should be that not only do those games work 10 years from now, but they're also updated with new hardware that we buy. Right? When we buy new hardware, the expectation should be that those games take advantage of it. Right? And that's really what the future that I want to see. And Microsoft has done that. They've proven that this generation so far that that's their plan. And we get back into the thing with the whole every 4 years, whatever. Like, it's a lot less of a hurdle if you think about if that's the way it works. Like, like at
I
the end of the
mean,
day, you're always just going to get upgrades and updates on your content, and you're going to get
at a certain point,
library.
also though, like you can even look at PC for this. Like a PC game from like 1992, it could have like trouble running on a fucking modern day system just because there's so many incompatibilities with old architecture. So eventually,
Right.
even with consoles, you're going to get to that point where like a 360 game 15 more years down the line, it may not work right just due to
That's where
architecture
emulation
changes over
comes in,
time.
right?
That's where
Yeah.
emulation comes in.
100%. Yeah. And that's where consoles actually have a little bit of an advantage.
Mhm.
I feel like there's so much more configurations for PCs and stuff, but like, emulating like consoles, right? And certain generations and stuff would be the less of a task than
As long as they're not cell processors like the
Yeah.
PS3.
yeah. And what I
As
mean
long as
is
it's not PS3.
what I mean is in terms of being emulated, right? Is the advantage there? You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's something else Xbox did when Xbox One era. They emulated the 360 era, right? Like, this is like super important. I feel like, and that's a key part to this whole puzzle, right? Of this generations and what does all that mean? And we talked about this for a few years on this channel. Like, I honestly think that's like the future and the way things are going. And eventually those things will be apps way down the line, and you won't necessarily have dedicated hardware except for the extreme enthusiast, and may be really expensive, right? Because you want all the bells and whistles. It's like PCs for your TVs or whatever. Who knows, right? But that's kind of where I think eventually things go, because the people that are willing to spend the most money I think this will make devices for them.
Please don't.
Right?
I don't want to buy a $1,500 Xbox.
No, it'll be your
you-
Windows phone. Your
but you
new
want-
Windows phone that's a PC console.
But
phone.
like, they'll probably have. I honestly think, like, if I was
If Xboxes ever go above $1,000, I'm never buying a fucking Xbox again.
I think a lot of people have a hard time thinking about the potential world we would live in that time when that would exist, right? Like,
Yeah, a
Yeah,
PC
well,
would be
it'd
so
be
small,
$20.
more powerful, and it'd be great.
but what I'm saying is, like, you wouldn't necessarily need that. You know what I mean? You would be able to just play on your like device without even necessarily having any native hardware, right? So like the people that it would be for would be a lot less, right? It would be for a much smaller market of the uber enthusiast, right? But those uber enthusiasts are heavy spenders, right? So at the end of the day, yeah, that's maybe who they would make that for. And then maybe they have a more casual option as well, but like at the end of the day, and I'm talking about like
Yeah, I
Go
know,
in
like,
the
but this
future,
is like getting to the point where it's like, I would really like a fucking Ferrari, but I can't afford that, so I guess I'm just gonna get a piece of shit fucking Camry. Like,
no, I mean, I'm at the point where they don't necessarily matter as much anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we're already kind of getting there. Like, how many people are using like GeForce Now and like can't tell the difference, right? And this is
Problem
like
is I can tell the difference.
right. Yes, right now, right now, Jasper. This is 20. This shit just started coming out a couple years ago. Like
I'll always be able to tell the difference.
You think so? Like maybe
Yes.
so. Maybe so. Right.
You may be always able to tell the difference, but look at like a game from 15 years ago to today on native hardware, and the fact that you don't have to like have a cartridge with the chip on it anymore. It's pretty much just software running on the hardware that you have in front of you, and the hardware is getting smaller, the die sizes are getting smaller. So there'll be a point where like our cell phones now are more powerful than the computers that we probably our very first computer kind of thing at this point. So there'll be something that's like cell phone size, or maybe it'll be like that pin that AI company has, and it's like, oh, you just have like this little cube. It'll be the Xbox cube that's the size of an ice cube that is more powerful than the Series X times 2 kind of thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, cloud development, cloud gaming could change everything too. If they perfect it and technology catches up and people can get good internet connections, cloud gaming might erase all that potential again. That you won't need hardware outside of a box or a chip that brings that cloud gaming experience right to wherever you're playing. Again, we could have bigger games than we even have now because the cloud is basically limitless as far as development size goes. So that's, I think, really what Xbox is looking at too, and Microsoft is looking at down the road. Obviously, I think that's how far away we are. We'll find out, but I think that eventuality that you're talking about there, Fuzz, definitely is in the works somewhere for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll see how it all plays out. It'll be interesting,
It's gonna be fun.
I think about the future of gaming and technology, but like,
So let's record the date 12/16/23. We'll meet back in 20 years and
yeah, yeah, this will be like a little time capsule thing, or but like, 2026 too early for an Xbox? Hell no, not for me. I want it now, personally.
As long as they do it right, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
As long as they do something right and it comes out and it's great, hell yeah, let's go. Let's kick the generations to the curb and do our own thing. That's fine with me. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it, man. Fucking just keep giving me great games with great quality. That's all I want. Anyway, man, it's a fun show, guys. That's all we got. We're just simple 2-topic show today. Shitting on PlayStation for factions. Praising the Xbox first party games as a service, and then talking next gen Xbox. When's it going? But like, kind of went speculating far beyond that. 2026. Yeah. I mean, I'm all in, baby. Let's go. I hope they're right. 'Cause I don't want to wait 5 years for an upgrade.
2026, 2036, 2046. Who knows?
Can I just throw this out there, Mav? If anybody in the chat right now, anybody listening to this relatively soon here, if you haven't already picked up the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, please go buy it for $6 right now and throw it in your library.
$6?
$5.99,
Wow.
bro, for the entire Legendary collection. Please go grab it.
You know what? I almost bought yesterday.
What?
On Switch?
What?
Red Faction Guerrilla Remastered Edition.
I've got it.
I've got that on Switch. I got it for like $2.99 or some shit.
Yeah, it was $2.99. Is it any good on there? Because I was thinking about.
I mean, it's
because I didn't know if it's maybe old enough that it looked kind of okay. You know what I mean? Like $2.99.
I played it for like 10 minutes because I got it for $2.99, but it's still Red Faction on the Switch, so it's like
right. Okay.
It's great on Xbox. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
on Xbox.
that's why it's $2.99 on the Switch. That's crazy, bro.
$5.99 for Legendary.
Yeah, it's nuts,
bro. Like some of the best gaming in history now in its best form for $6.
Well,
3
if you have
games.
Game Pass, you already have those too, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But eventually, it'll eventually drop out or whatever, like they do with a lot of their games. I would imagine, but for $6, throw it in your library. So you got what we were just talking about. Maybe EA Play doesn't exist, or they, finally the contract runs out with Xbox and it's no longer available, right? You might as well freaking grab it for $6 and throw it in the library, man.
3 games for 3 easy payments of $2.
Yeah.
Of course, the contract ends by 2027. They're out of the business, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. They might be completely out of business. Yeah, Decado. I picked up the Dead Space too. Even though that's in game, I picked up the deluxe edition for $8 or whatever it was, $9, whatever it was the other day as well. So Immortals of Avium, I got that deal too. I told you all about. And then they took it away because it was a mistake.
Yeah, I think it's like half off now or some shit.
Yeah, it's like $31.99 now.
Yeah.
Instead of that, I picked it up that night. Oh, so happy. So happy.
Yeah, Kate's saying don't encourage me. I want to buy all that shit, and it's like I never play any of it. You know, when I buy those cheap games that are great deals. But
I do, even if it's for an hour.
I know,
but I love it. They're in my library.
I'm trying to.
The only reason I do it on Switch is because like you have to buy like $60 cards, and you have to buy like another $10 one to cover the fucking tax. So you end up with like $7 extra. It's like, well, fuck. What am I gonna spend this on? Oh, there's a $2.99 game. Fuck it, I'll buy that.
Yeah. One thing I need to get for this holiday season is a deal on some fucking storage expansion for my Xboxes, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, the games are like, I got like 5 games on a Series X now, and it's like, I like am having to pick and choose between fucking like the games I play frequently to uninstall, and I hate doing like I can't keep doing that. Like storage expansion, fuck, man. I hope that's the other thing. In 5 years with only still 1 terabyte internal, like I can't do that, bro. Like give us some better storage options, please, sooner than later.
Yeah, that's the big thing is storage.
Yeah,
right. It does need to fix, but
let us know.
Hopefully they go the M.2 route like PlayStation. I mean, I like the hot swappable aspect of these cards, but I can put a 2 terabyte in
that's
for
essentially
like
what's in
the
hot card. They just make it a stupid prior, like the connector thing that way. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm really looking at premium controllers as my next big buy. I really am. That Turtle Beach Stealth is getting rave reviews from everybody. I really want to see Xbox's Elite 3 and see what they do with it. I'm kind of waiting on that. I'm hoping that they're going to announce something soon on that and see what it looks like. But that Turtle Beach has got me interested, man, from what people are saying about it, especially with the HAL sticks in it and all that good stuff.
Is it wireless?
Sticks, I should say. Yeah, it's wireless. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they opened up the license now. So we're getting a couple of them. We're getting a modular, that modular controller too is coming for Xbox Wireless as well. That one that was already on PlayStation where you could take everything off and you could readjust all the sticks and everything. That's coming too for Xbox. But this Turtle Beach one really has got my eyes open.
Yeah, has Turtle Beach improved their quality?
Supposedly with this thing they have, everybody's saying it's high quality. It's got the Hall sticks in it, which is what I really care about. Yeah. Again, not getting that stick drift will be freaking amazing. So
I'm out of replacement controllers. So I'm down to my last one out of fucking like 9.
Yeah, I want one too, man. But like, I want it for like the feel of it more than anything else. You know what I mean? But like,
that's the hard part. You can't really go anywhere to check them out prior to. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because I just also don't know long-term wear of it either.
I'm not going to use like the trigger locks and all that shit, really, probably. But I like the hefty, good quality feel of like a good premium controller, you know. But I don't want to spend $200 and it crap out 6 months later.
Correct. That's why.
Oh, like you mean like every Elite controller ever made?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Drop it. Just don't drop it or use it or look at it too hard.
Yeah, Decado, that's the rumor that the Elite 3 will have the Hall sticks in it as well. That's why I'm kind of sitting on this, kind of thinking about it, because I do want to see what they come out with. But yeah, if it's got Hall sticks, I'll definitely be interested. But man, that Turtle Beach looks good. It's got the RGB, it's got the screen on it. I know that's stupid, but 30+ hours battery life, and you get your messages from your phone on it. That's kind of dope.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
It's got an app. Yeah.
My controller's got an app, bro.
My controller will have spam.
Right.
We've been trying to reach
I'm checking my emails on my controller. Hold on.
Yeah, but I mean, fuck, I don't want my work messages coming through my controller.
No, I've never fucking get that because he's just gonna be constantly reading fucking Twitter notifications while we're playing games. He already does that anyway.
What are you talking about?
He'll be AFK all the time, just looking at his controller screen. Oh god. Well, at least you can't answer the messages off that thing.
What if I did like actually hit a button and do like a 3-way call, like include y'all in the call on accident, like it just all the fucking time.
A business call. You take a business call,
and your first words are like, "Fuck, stop teabagging me," or some shit like that, or like, "Mav, get with it, you son of a bitch! What the fuck you doing?"
Or it's
Yeah.
after midnight and Steel's in one of his moods.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And he's
That'd
like,
be bad
and
news.
Steele's just like, are we naked yet? You know?
Are we naked? Everybody's naked. Let's go.
Oh man.
Oh shit.
Shit.
All right,
Shit,
we dragged
shit.
this on enough.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go.
Let's get everybody out of here. Fuzzy Belvedere, where can everybody find you, sir?
Just thank you for having me on. Always awesome to be on here with you guys. Thanks everybody in the chat for checking us out. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. Check out the Shop Podcast on PTK Blam's channel tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with me, Pong, and PTK Blam. And then you can find me on FSP Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks again.
Right on, Buzz. Appreciate you. And what about you, Jasper?
Yo, check it out, Lord Jasper, Twitter, Lord Master Jasper, YouTube, all that fun stuff, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday right here, 10 o'clock, Fun Speculation Network with FSP, Fun Pop, and Xbox Ultimate. That's where I am, that's what I do, check it out, and have fun.
Right on, broski. And the one and only Pong Soul.
What a fun night, brothers. Really good conversations here. Again, we went in a lot of directions. Obviously, we don't normally talk that much PlayStation, but, you know, I kind of think it was kind of warranted. So definitely.
Yeah, fuck them this week. Bastard.
And again, we come from different perspectives. It
Yeah.
isn't just shredding them. It is actually trying to figure out what the hell's going on and why it's happening. So great discussions. Chat, you guys absolutely freaking amazing as always. Thank you for joining us. Nothing but love and respect for each and every single one of you. Your support for the shows here and Living Split Screen and the Shop Podcast. A lot of familiar faces. You guys have just been absolutely outstanding this year. Gotta thank you for that. It's really, really incredible stuff. So appreciate that. Otherwise, you guys know the drill as far as following me. Formerly known as Twitter, I'm there as Pong Soul. Obviously, the same on Xbox. And of course, you guys know what's happening tomorrow morning. It is going to be a special Living Split Screen tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. My brother from the Steel Rain and I will be live, but we are giving away a Series S tomorrow. So that's right. A brand new Series S is going out tomorrow to somebody who follows me, follows Steel, follows Living Split Screen on Twitter, subs to Living Split Screen, and shows up live in the chat tomorrow. That's the rules. You can go find one of my posts. You can go find one of Steel's posts if you need all of that information. But we are going to be live. We're going to be giving away the Series S. You already know what you're going to get from us. You had a short show last week because I had the Christmas party. I think tomorrow is going to be a normal show. So 3+ hours tomorrow. Get there early, buckle up, get ready. Don't know when Steel's planning on giving it away, but you got to be live to win it. So just come on by and join us. Enjoy the conversation. We get the chat involved. It's always a fun time there. And then, of course, tomorrow night, I will also be back for the Shop Podcast. Had to take off last week due to the Christmas party, but I will be back this week. It's PTK Blam's channel. Blam is there. He's the host, one of the greatest hosts in the business. And, of course, Fuzzy's going to be there. I'm going to be there. I don't know if we got guests or not this week, Fuzzy, but you got to join it because it's the best way to end your Saturday night. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. Be there for the Shop Podcast. Next week, it starts all over again. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick's the man on Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, because it's all good things green on the Xbox Factor Podcast. And it got just a little bit sweeter because the announcement went out this week that my brother from another Steel Rain is joining that panel full time. So Tuesdays, already special, but man, Steel being there is going to be cool to watch him do his thing on that show. And then Thursday, Mav and I are scheduled to have another PM in the PM. It's close to the holidays, but we should have a scheduled PM in the PM next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Be there for that right here on this channel. Otherwise, it's Golden Age of Gaming, people. Get out there. Have a great weekend. Play what you love. Love what you play. And I'll talk to you all real soon tomorrow morning. See you all there.
Thanks,
Matt,
Pong.
get us out of here, brother.
Before we get out of here, choo-choo, motherfucker.
Decado, listen up, chat. Decado could not let the show go by. Last night was freaking insanity, but Decado just said, you know what? Listen, you guys put on a good show here on Xbox Ultimate. I'm not going to let you walk out of here without getting bombed, man. We're not going to let the hype train just roll at Mach 1 like it always does. I'm going to beef it up a little bit. I'm going to buy 5 people 5 tickets to this ride. That's right. Decado comes on in, does a nice easy 5 for a layup for everybody. That's right. The 5 bomb from Decado. Choo-choo, motherfuckers. Have a great night.
Thanks, Decado. I super appreciate you. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you. If y'all like the content here, hit the like button, share it out, sub to the channel, notification bell, all that kind of cool stuff. Stay tuned on schedule for what's going on with holiday schedules for the shows. I got to talk to everybody and figure out what all the plans are going to be. But I'll let y'all know on Twitter, and I'll try to do a community post here on YouTube as well. If you listen on audio, appreciate you all as well. Be kind and leave a review if you like the content, and I hope you have an awesome night. Peace out, everybody. Later.
Bye.